Who? Meng Yun attacked fiercely, forcing back the individuals who rushed forward again. One of them even coughed out large amounts of blood, injuries extremely serious. Finally, a cough sounded from within the mountain gate, and then a few people appeared. There were extremely powerful cultivators among them who released astonishing auras. Meng Yun, why must you go so far? One of them spoke. Quite a few people came this time, splitting into many powers. There was a young man in one of the groups who had green hair scattering down his shoulders, sitting there unmoving. There were many people in his surroundings, standing at the two sides, making him look even more extraordinary and holy. Lu Tua, he appeared. Someone cried out in alarm, raising a commotion. Many people's eyes began to burn with passion. Lu Tua, this was a powerful individual. He didn't move, sitting on a Dao platform, floating in the air. The Academy's elites hovered in his surroundings, crowding around him. This person was a legend, someone who had never been defeated. Even though he looked extremely handsome, when he spoke, it was like thunder, able to blast one who cultivated immortal energy to death on the spot, let alone his other true divine abilities. This person could not be fought head-on. He grasped a true ancient heavenly art, far above his peers. His valiance dominated the 9 heavens 10 earths. Now he personally made an appearance. Meng Yun's expression changed, withdrawing immediately. In front of Lu Tua, even someone as powerful as Meng Yun, who cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy, couldn't display the slightest bit of fighting spirit, turning around to leave. Meanwhile, at this time the mountain gates opened. Many people appeared. Lu Tua was not the only one. There were other well-known individuals who appeared as well. The core disciples have all come out, about to choose followers. Someone cried out in alarm. A great disturbance was immediately raised here. A group of people swarmed forward, rushing towards Lu Tua and the others, wishing to distinguish themselves from the crowd. Sure Hao became a bit speechless. Just the competition for this type of quota was already so fierce. One could imagine just how intense the selection for true disciples back then was. He released a light sigh, feeling that things weren't going to go smoothly this time. Heavenly Deity Institution actually refused disciples with such great potential. So how could someone who came as late as him not be refused? Sure Hao frowned, starting to think to himself. He felt that with his talent and strength he could enter. Heavenly Deity Institution didn't have any reasons to refuse him. However, when he thought of how Yuan Qing wanted to suppress him for 10 years, leaving him in Origin Ancient Mine, he felt extremely uncomfortable inside. There was someone acting against him, moreover someone with great authority. Sure Hao's eyes flickered, revealing coldness. Another group of people arrived, stars surrounding a moon, a male walking at the center, many experts around him. He was extremely young, body releasing chaotic energy. Feng Xingtian, the most powerful cultivation genius that had emerged in Feng clan after many eras, known to be comparable to his ancestor, someone who wasn't weaker than a long life being in his youth. His name was well known in the 9 heavens, one of the most powerful geniuses. Sure Hao restrained his aura. He could tell from a single look that this person was ridiculously powerful, possessing terrifying divine strength. Definitely a formidable figure. At the same time, Feng Xingtian sensed something, revealing a look of surprise, looking in this direction. Yeah. Hurry and look. Princess Yao, you also came. A group of boys were excited, flocking in a direction, staring at a woman. All of their eyes began to burn with passion, as if they were looking at a piece of rare treasure. Who was Princess Yao Yu? Sure Hao didn't know, so he turned around, looking in that direction. A woman walked over elegantly, arriving while treading on moonlight. Even though it was daytime, her body was surrounded by water like moonlight, incredibly pure and holy. She wore light clothes, face beautiful, elegant and perfect, as if she was someone from a fantasy. When she blinked her starry eyes, it immediately made others infatuated. Sure Hao was shocked. Forget about everything else. Just the spiritual force of this woman was exceptionally shocking, able to look down on all of her peers. When her eyes opened and closed, The wisps of spiritual force could almost condense into tangible matter. Of course, only with heavenly eyes could he see these things. There was no way the naked eye could see that type of powerful spiritual force. Sure enough, that woman sensed something, detecting a powerful spiritual force that wasn't weaker than hers. She couldn't help but look back, searching about in this direction. Sure how restrained his aura, silently watching. Heavenly Deity Institution was hiding great talents after all. An astonishing place, gathering the most powerful heroic talents of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Princess Yao Yu came from an ancient imperial court, also belonging to an ancient long-life family. Someone said softly, describing this woman's identity. The other side, her origins were too powerful. The family a long life being established as well as an imperial court, that was definitely the greatest power, not many things comparable to this. Princess Yao Yu clearly possessed great popularity in Heavenly Deity Institution. Not only these outside cultivators, but also those true disciples' eyes were burning as they looked at her. Then, the atmosphere became more and more intense, because core disciples appeared one after another, triggering great disturbances, this place unable to calm down. You came. Lu Tuo pointed at a woman who was beautiful and dignified, extremely outstanding, figure long and slender. When she walked, she was elegant and refined, her figure moving as she arrived. This triggered cries of alarm, because that was an imperial lady who came from a well-known ancient country, her reputation great. There were immediately people who began to make noise, triggering quite the commotion. This imperial lady was first shocked, and then she walked over, natural and unrestrained, to Lu Tuo's side, becoming his follower. Don't tell me she's going to become a concubine? Someone released a strange cry. Hong! This place became even noisier, many people gazing over together, staring in that direction. Only Lu Tuo released a cold snort, and then all of the noise disappeared, that area gradually becoming quiet. It was because that cold snort was like thunder as it erupted in their minds, shaking up many people until their ears were in great pain, bodies staggering, almost collapsing on the spot. Princess Yao Yu is also choosing someone. She needs 2 servants, as well as an ancient beast to pull a carriage. When news got out, a group of people swarmed over, doing everything they could to sell themselves. Heavens! Isn't that by Hong White Tiger Clan's outstanding talent, an area's young supreme being? It's actually willing to pull the carriage. This is too absurd. Why would he make this type of decision? This place became chaotic, many people staring forward in disbelief. By Hong, a heroic young man, white clothes refined, bloodline noble. This was an extremely well-known young expert. Back then, he was almost chosen to become a disciple of the academy, but ended up failing because of a few unexpected events. Now, his smile was warm, fiercely leaping up, turning into his original form, displaying the white tiger body, willing to become the divine beast that pulled Princess Yao Yu's carriage. This was definitely explosive news, difficult for it to not be talked about, triggering a commotion. What is Bai Hong trying to accomplish? Ignoring his status? Is he letting himself go? About to turn into a mount to pull a carriage? Princess Yao Yu became the focal point of 10,000 eyes. An exceptional young talent was willing to do this, proving just how great her charisma was. Only when Feng Xingtian, the one known to be comparable to the Wind Clan's ancestor, walked over from the distance, about to choose a follower, did everyone's attention slightly shift. A few beautiful women, as well as in some confident, powerful young men, moved towards him, hoping to be chosen. Suddenly, a place not far off became silent, as if a clamoring street immediately became quiet, quite abrupt. However, that place became noisy again soon after. Young Miss Wang, she has arrived, also about to select followers. The news erupted like thunder, making this place quake. The cultivators outside the mountain gate all looked in that direction, revealing hopeful expressions, wishing to be selected by her. Long life family Wang Clan's brilliant pearl. She cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, powerful, incomparable, exceptional under the sky. When these cries of alarm sounded, sure how knew who she was. The diamond band forced onto his head was placed by her clansman in Origin Ancient Mine, precisely so that he could become this lady's servant. Truly extremely beautiful, an outstanding beauty. Many people sighed with astonishment, feeling a bit infatuated. When one cultivated to their cultivation realms, generally speaking, it was difficult for beauty to move their minds. This was, unless they were too bewitching, or if their spirits were moved. It was clear that this young lady, regardless of whether it was her appearance, body, or spiritual quality, all made her a peerless beauty. Princess Yao Yu's appearance alone triggered an uproar, drawing 10,000 eyes. When the Wang clan's young miss emerged, it was the same, becoming the most dazzling center of attention. She was indeed selecting servants, treating this matter seriously. Her eyes carried astonishing brilliance as she swept them over everyone's eyes one by one. However, she didn't immediately announce her decision. Suddenly, she saw Sure Hao, immediately staring blankly. Divine light flashed through her divine eyes, and then she walked straight at him. Wang Shi, beautiful to an unrealistic degree. Her oval face sparkling white like fine jade, black eyebrows curved, eyes like black gemstones. Her nose was straight and tall, lips red. Her head of beautiful hair glowing like satin. Her figure was tall and straight. When she walked over, she was like a swaying divine lotus, skin sparkling and brilliant, entire being perfect. Even that long dress couldn't hide her curves. The crowd's breathing became rough as they quietly watched her. When this type of world-toppling beauty approached them, it was as if she was a fairy walking out from a painting. Everyone appreciated beauty, let alone this type of unmatched woman, naturally drawing attention. The discussions in the surroundings all stopped, everyone watching quietly. Sure Hao didn't wish to stir up trouble, so he was like the others, eyes brilliant, looking at her with burning eyes, doing his best to look like the others. However, he wanted to remain calm, wishing to blend into the crowd, but he still failed. It was because that young and beautiful woman was coming straight for him. As the Wang family's pearl, as well as the woman with the greatest potential in the history of the clan, Wang Shi's spiritual awareness was terrifyingly sharp, extremely astonishing. Even while quite far away, she felt that this youngster was unordinary, giving her a strange feeling. When she got closer, she immediately understood the reason. This young man wore a golden band on his head. It was releasing an almost undetectable ripple only her clan's geniuses could sense. It was because this was an imitation of their clan's supreme magical artifact. Their clan's ancestral artifact diamond band shook the 9 heavens. Who didn't know about its existence? The quality of the diamond band imitation the young man wore on his head was the highest kind, not something an ordinary person could use. Wang Shi could tell that this young man's origins were unordinary from a single look. Otherwise, her clansmen definitely wouldn't have easily given this type of item away. It carries a grain of immortal gold. Wang Shi sighed with astonishment. From a certain perspective, the diamond band the young man wore carried astonishing value. However, this magical artifact was only used to subdue and restrict him. Was it the clan's elders that told you to come here? Wang Shi secretly transmitted sound, extremely gentle and pleasant to listen to, as if sounds of nature were sounding in his head. She knew that her clansmen were looking for a suitable servant for her, previously saying that they were going to look for the best, that they would use this type of diamond band to restrict the person. This proved this person was extraordinary. Sure Hao was speechless. He truly didn't want to be targeted by this person, especially after drawing a group of eyes. He just wanted to calmly enter heavenly deity institution. However, now the situation seemed to have changed a bit. He didn't reply, only giving Wang Shi a look. Then he looked elsewhere, not paying her any attention. Wang Shi smiled, extremely calm, but also quite stunning, as if an immortal flower corolla was blossoming, immediately brightening heaven and earth. Those bright eyes looked over, red lips bright, teeth pure white, immediately making many people distracted. Even though the smile wasn't that provocative, even a bit faint, it still made the hearts of cultivators nearby jump crazily. Even females felt the urge to sigh. Wang Shi's beauty was too extraordinary, making them feel ashamed of their inferiority. Has some character. Wang Shi only spoke these few words. Her eyes were profound and unfathomable, revealing a hint of expression that was difficult to comprehend. Shihao was shocked. His eyebrows jumped, looking at her. He could clearly sense a bit of provocation from the other party, as well as a bit of ridicule. This woman was quite different. Wang Shi was indeed a bit surprised. She felt that since this male dared to ignore her like this, there were several possible reasons why he did this. The first was to draw her attention, purposely acting artificially. The second was that he was unwilling to accept this, not wanting to be ordered about by her. Another possibility was that he really was calm like this to begin with. This meant that the other person felt that he could deal with her with equal statuses. Was it her clansman who sent over a servant, or did a runaway captive just happen to run here? Or maybe he came here precisely for her, paying a tremendous price to purchase the diamond band, restraining himself on purpose to meet her? Wang Shi came from a long-life family, so she was naturally not a normal woman. There were many thoughts and speculations that appeared in a flash. She revealed a faint smile. She decided not to worry about those situations. She was indifferent to them, instead feeling a bit amused. Regardless of whether this young man came here honestly or while wearing a fake mask, she didn't mind. Regardless, it was all to become a servant, to be ordered around by her. If this person's purpose wasn't pure, it would instead be more interesting. She would then have quite the play to watch, see what kind of tricks he was going to play. You'll be the one. Wang Shi spoke. She revealed a smile, dazzling others until they couldn't open their eyes, brilliant light astonishing, leaving many cultivators shocked. Immediately afterwards, killing intent surged. Many creatures stared at Shihao with unkind expressions at the same time, carrying jealousy and anger, as well as unacceptance. Everyone knew that Wang Shi selected Shihao, going to bring him into heavenly deity institution. They felt quite dejected. They came here for his type of qualification, especially being chosen by this type of world-toppling beauty. In the eyes of many young experts, this was the best opportunity. In the end, the results were unrelated to them, the quota taken up by that person. In reality, Shihao didn't feel happy at all. After being forced to wear the diamond band by the Wang family like this, he had long wished to settle this debt. However, it wasn't good for him to act out here. After all, the situation was complicated. He wasn't willing to stir up more trouble. Of course, agreeing like this was impossible. He cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, so why did he have to serve as the servant of another? If it was the other way around, that would make more sense. In the 3,000 provinces, he had previously declared similar great ambitions, even though it was done in a half-joking manner. Hey! Fairy Wang Shi is speaking to you. Someone reminded Shihao. It was a handsome and carefree young man who followed at Wang Shi's side. It was clear that this was a follower Wang Shi accepted before. Aside from him, there was a young lady with charming looks, exceptional strength. I do not wish to follow you, Shihao said, direct and plain-spoken. When this sentence was spoken, the handsome male immediately revealed a strange look. He actually refused. This place became quiet, everyone becoming shocked, feeling as if they misheard. Someone was refusing Fairy Wang Shi's invitation? This almost felt a bit unreal. One had to understand that it was unknown just how many creatures wanted to be in his situation, especially the young men, their eyes burning with passion, wishing for the chance to accompany an exceptional beauty at her side. Yet this youth refused just like that, leaving them so shocked their eyeballs were going to pop out. They were stunned and confused. Wang Shi revealed a ruminate look, but this type of expression disappeared with a flash. Her bright eyes moved about, looking again and again, thinking about why this person refused. Was this a noble and virtuous deliberate display? Or was it to say he really was refusing? Regardless of which it was, she wouldn't allow the other party to refuse, having to keep him by her side and then slowly torment him, watch what kind of performance he would put up. As a result, she smiled, inviting again, her smile extremely sweet. Many people were stupefied. The Wang family's fairy was so amiable, a smile stealing the hearts of many, truly rarely seen. Many people felt moved. Sure Hao refused again. This time, everyone felt that it was a bit strange, all of them dumbstruck. Was this fella doing this on purpose, trying to draw the fairy's attention? A group of people grinded their teeth, feeling that this person deserved a beating. Chi. In the distance, there were people who sneered. They were all official disciples of Heavenly Deity Institution, their numbers not small. When they saw this scene, they all revealed expressions of disdain. This person is too egotistical. Who does he think he is? Does he think that he can make a deeper impression like this, draw Fairy Wuxia's interest? Too childish. This loser doesn't even have the qualifications to enter the Heavenly Deity Institution, far below us. Yet he wants to play this kind of game, just overestimating his capabilities. One has to know that he doesn't even have the qualifications. Yet he wants to draw Fairy Wuxia's attention. Many of Heavenly Deity Institution's disciples shook their heads, taking delight in this disaster, sneering at him. However, contrary to expectations, Wuxia moved her red lips again, extremely amiable, inviting Sure Hao again, making the people outside the mountain gates jealous. Meanwhile, the disciples in Heavenly Deity Institution revealed strange looks, feeling that Sure Hao was out of luck. Is Wuxia trying to deal with him, taking him as a servant first, and then properly torment him after he enters the academy? This fella is in trouble, actually daring to treat Fairy Wuxia like this. Too vulgar. The cultivators inside the academy who cultivated immortal energy all laughed. Even they felt like Wuxia was bright like a moon, impossible to chase, so they naturally showed Sure Hao contempt. I have the qualifications to become an official disciple myself, so I never decided to enter the academy through you all. This time, Sure Hao was even more direct. When Wuxia heard this, she revealed a look of surprise, indeed a bit shocked. Is that so? Then I'll have a look. She took action. With a wave of her sleeves, she approached Sure Hao, elegant and agile like an immortal. A strand of pure white mist appeared, surrounding Sure Hao, wishing to suppress him. Sure Hao didn't move, allowing the mist to cover him. He secretly activated 2 strands of immortal energy to stop this. Others couldn't see, but Wuxia was shocked, deeply sensing that this person actually cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy, greatly exceeding her expectations. This was the first time she was shocked. This person was a genius after all, having the qualifications to enter Heavenly Deity Academy, a rarely seen expert. This time, her smile became even more brilliant, extremely interested, secretly transmitting sound, seriously inviting him for a chat, wishing to discuss with him in a different place. There is no need. Sure Hao didn't wish to let things worsen further. Your talents aren't bad, but it is quite pitiful. Heavenly Deity Institution really isn't taking disciples any longer. There were a few people who, due to coming late, even had their qualifications stripped. It is to the extent where a young man named Huang who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, because of unexpected events, didn't come in time. There are people inside the academy who have proposed to no longer accept him. Wuxia secretly transmitted. This left Sure Hao shocked. He secretly clenched his fists, unexpectedly obtaining this piece of information, making him furious. He still looked quite calm on the surface, not displaying anything. Sure Hao's mind moved, thinking about many things. He wanted to walk away from this problem, no longer paying this so-called Heavenly Deity Institution any more attention. If he had to lower his dignity to join, he would rather give up. An uproar sounded in the distance. Many people raised their heads, even Heavenly Deity Institution students like this. An individual moved through the sky, bringing a youth straight into Heavenly Deity Institution, releasing a powerful aura. Yuan Qing. Sure Hao's eyes became cold. He actually saw Yuan Qing, the one who wanted to suppress him for 10 years. This was a great enemy. Soon after, someone said something softly, releasing a piece of new. Yuan Qing delivered a descendant who might very likely join Heavenly Deity Institution. A dark haze shrouded Sure Hao's heart. If he could show his expression, it would definitely be extremely ugly. Yuan Qing was actually allowed to send a descendant into Heavenly Deity Institution. He immediately understood why someone had Yuanqing take action, suppressing him for 10 years, involving a few complex people and powers. Was this an exchange of interest? It was clear that there were people inside the institution with unclear attitudes, or else why would Yuanqing dare bring over a disciple? Rage surged within Shihao's mind. So what if he didn't enter this heavenly deity institution? Yuanqing, do you know your crimes? Suddenly, a voice sounded from the depths of heavenly deity institution, ringing like thunder. Yuanqing, you should leave first. However, another voice sounded. Inside the mountain gate, great peaks towered one after the other. There were flowing colorful and white mists sweeping about, hazy and indistinct, truly like an immortal dwelling. At this time, even the figure of someone as powerful as Yuanqing trembled, as if he suffered some type of energy attack. His Dao robes fluttered about. Then, he released endless golden light to resist. Enough, Yuanqing. Come back for now. Within the depths of the academy, there were jade palaces, divine islands floating in midair, surrounded by chaotic energy. Right now, an aged voice sounded, calling him over. From the voice, it should be the one who was partial towards Yuanqing. Shua! Blazing, multicolored light flashed. He disappeared from this place, entering that island. Outside the mountain gate, everyone saw this scene clearly, all of them shocked. There was actually this type of thing that happened. There were some people who knew who Yuanqing was. This person was well known, strength extremely great, a formidable figure in immeasurable heaven. There were others who knew what he did recently. It was rumored that he helped Wind Clan suppress the lower realm genius Huang for 10 years. This was something that went against the Academy's will. Normally, who would dare do something like this? However, he did it, moreover extremely calmly, exiling Huang to Origin Ancient Mine, not returning to this day, life or death unknown. It was to the extent where almost no one believed Huang was still alive. He was forced into Origin Ancient Mine, not returning after going inside. Now that so many days passed, they all believed that he was undoubtedly dead. From a certain perspective, Yuanqing's confidence and power made others intimidated. He was just this domineering, forcing a youth with endless potential to death. Moreover, after the matter, he didn't pay any price because of this, still dominating an area. Of course, knowing was knowing, hearing was hearing. Before this scene, no one dared say anything to avoid provoking Yuanqing. Shiha thought silently to himself, not saying anything. Yuanqing stopped a genius, he really is something. It doesn't even seem like he will receive too severe of a punishment. Wang Shi said, her beautiful eyes moving back and forth, looking through the crowd. This immediately gave the surrounding people some confidence, sticking out their chests to express themselves. Soon after, a sky-shattering sound could be heard from the air. Yuanqing appeared again, face a bit pale. However, he wasn't suppressed and punished, only emerging. Moreover, the disciple he brought over was left behind, not being chased out. Shiha was seething with anger. There was actually this kind of result. Yuanqing acted against him, causing him to lose his way. Now, everyone already thinks that he died, yet Yuanqing didn't receive any punishment, the disciple he brought over instead being accepted into the academy. The former and latter were just too different. Shiha, the victim, was still outside the mountain gate. Yet the perpetrator sent the descendant into the academy, occupying a precious quota. Moreover, it was already passed around that all those who were late would be refused, meaning that Shiha had no chance of entering. For him, this was simply a joke, a type of irony. Shiha really wanted to just leave. This heavenly deity institution couldn't be joined, so there was no need to force it. He felt a wave of sullenness that was difficult to endure. Only when he heard everyone's discussion, that the one sent inside was the descendant Yuanqing doted on the most, he then stopped. Since it was his enemy, then he had to take some action. Since he couldn't kill Yuanqing or the ones who incited him, then he'll just start with dealing with their descendant. Regardless, these people wanted to suppress him for 10 years, all for the sake of paving the way for this descendant, so he'll crush their hopes. He might not necessarily join the heavenly deity institution, but he could stay here for a period of time. If he could obtain the immortal Dao resources here, then it wouldn't be that bad. All right, I'll take a step back and invite you to discuss the Tao and not as a follower. What do you think? When Shi Hao remained silent, Fairy Wangxi said this, unexpectedly taking a step back. Everyone became shocked. They couldn't help but raise a commotion. These conditions were just too good, right? Actually treating him as an equal, not requesting him to become a follower, let alone a servant. Wangxi was a well-known fairy, born from a long-life family, the descendant of a true immortal, status incredibly noble. However now, she actually lowered her stance, inviting this youngster like this. It truly left others shocked. Many people's eyes swept over, expressing tremendous hostility towards Shi Hao. They weren't the only ones. Even Heavenly Deity Institution's official disciples were shocked, extremely jealous. It was because Wangxi was intelligent and pure, reputation too great, the most important being that she was a world-toppling beauty, someone with immortal lineage, many people's ideal goddess. This stupid brat doesn't even have the qualifications to enter the academy. Not even cultivating immortal energy. For what reason should he be treated like this? The crowd found this hard to accept. The formal disciples inside the academy all released cold radiance. Even with his type of aptitudes, he can discuss the Tao with young Miss Wangxi? Will he even be able to understand those great Tao sutras? Someone said sarcastically, carrying contempt. Of course, there was even more so a type of jealousy. They just couldn't understand how someone without the qualifications to enter deserved Wangxi's attention. Ha ha! Someone laughed, shaking his head and saying, "You all really are stubborn. If you change your perspective, everything will make sense." "What do you mean?" someone asked. "This person's talents aren't enough, so young Miss Wang, she only wants to keep him at her side to slowly deal with him. As the most esteemed long-life family's young miss, how can she tolerate someone refusing her? Just wait for a bit and see. There will be quite the play to watch," that person said with a smile. When he explained like this, the others understood in a flash, nodding their heads one after another, realizing what was going on. As a result, the official disciples within the mountain gate all calmed down, no longer displaying hostility from their eyes, only pity remaining, feeling that this person was quite pitiful. Outside the mountain gate, Shi Hao thought for a bit, and then agreed. Heavens! It truly is unfair. Look at his reluctant look. Too shameless. Clearly all faked. Putting on too much of an act. The people nearby were furious. However, soon after, the official disciples' conversations transmitted over, so the people over here understood as well. They revealed looks of surprise as they looked at Shi Hao. When Shi Hao heard their discussions, he couldn't help but raise his head towards Wangxi. This Wang family's young miss wanted to torment him? Wangxi revealed a faint smile, the meaning unclear. Shi Hao looked at her and then thought for a bit. Perhaps the other party did this for the diamond band on his head, also perhaps because of his refusal. Regardless, there was still a bit of curiosity towards him, so she wasn't going to let him go, wanting to take him as a follower. Wouldn't it just be a fight? Or maybe some other type of battle? He wasn't scared of anything, not fearing that he would be tormented or anything. "Let's go then," Shi Hao said. This made the handsome and vigorous young man behind Wangxi frown. Who exactly was the master and who was the servant? This attitude was just a bit too high. As for the young lady behind Wangxi, she was a bit curious as well, feeling like there was a good play to watch. If this young man joined, there'd definitely be many things stirred up. As for the others, they were speechless, jealousy and hatred already not enough to describe their expressions. "I will choose 2 more followers," Wangxi said, her voice gentle, extremely pleasant to listen to. It was always like this, even when she was indifferent, her voice still gentle. The people nearby were moved. There was actually still more chances. Soon after, Wangxi pointed out a male and female, both of them surpassing the others, people who long reached the level of those in Heavenly Deity Institution. Aside from not having immortal energy, these 2 exceptional talents could overlook all of their peers. "Done?" Shi Hao asked. This left even Wangxi a bit speechless. This fella actually put on airs with her. Was he treating her as someone of equal footing? She was just being a bit more polite. while he really took this to heart. Done. Wang Shi nodded, a bit cold, because few people rushed her like this. Ancient pine trees stood one after another like ancient beasts, living here in seclusion, the branches about to reach the ground, growing at both sides of heavenly deity institution's mountain gate. Every one of these ancient trees were several tens of thousands of years old. But what was strange was that they didn't develop sentience, still just trees. Some said that because of a great battle before, due to the falling stars and ancient experts' blood being mixed in, it suppressed these ancient trees, preventing them from developing a soul. Younger sis Wang Shi, you chose 2 followers and invited a Dao friend? A gentle laughter sounded from the distance. Princess Yao Yu appeared, surrounded by moonlight, exceptional and brilliant, skin soft and moist like ivory, carrying a sweet smile. She looked towards Shi Hao, laughed, and then said to Wang Shi, I will have to invite this Dao friend to discuss the Dao another day as well. Sure. Wang Shi nodded. It was clear that as young ladies from long-life families, the two were always in fierce competition. They had to compare even when the other party chose a follower. Then Shi Hao saw Lu Tua. This person was extremely frightening. Just a faint look he swept over was already like crashing thunder, shaking the void. Shi Hao didn't mind it much, feeling quite carefree. He looked towards the distant Feng Xingtian. That was the Wind clan's stunning inheritor. If this clan really wanted to deal with him, Shi Hao didn't mind fighting a great life and death decisive battle against him. Even though everyone was talking about how frightening he was, difficult to find similar level opponents in the 9 heavens, Shi Hao was still without fear. Great peaks rested one after another, some entirely pitch black, some releasing scarlet light, others releasing purple energy, all of them different. However, there was one point in which they were the same, and that was that they were rich with heaven and earth spiritual essence. This was the most ideal cultivation pure land. Shi Hao never expected he would enter heavenly deity institution in this type of manner. Wind and clouds were stirring, major events about to happen. Clear light, secluded woods. This was the cave Wang Shi resided in. The mountain forest was deep, light drizzled about, extremely peaceful and auspicious, a rare Dao earth. It looked a bit overgrown at first glance from the greenery covering the mountains and plains. If one didn't look carefully, one might mistake this place for being covered in weeds. In reality, there were many ancient medicines growing in this forest ground, within mountain cracks, accompanied by rising purple multicolored light. They looked extremely peaceful and holy. Heavenly deity institution occupied a vast area, the various spiritual mountains too numerous to count, every single disciple having their own pure land, belonging to someone. Meanwhile, someone like Wang Shi who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy had a place that far exceeded the others, having 10 times the amount of Dao land as others. Meanwhile, in this region, there were 10 great peaks, every single one towering into the clouds, either shining with glowing green light, surrounded by draconic energy, or surging with purple energy, a myriad of different scenes. Clear light, secluded woods was precisely between these 10 divine cliffs, truly a peaceful and divine place. 10 underground divine earth veins nourished this place, turning the ordinary into the elegant and refined. Shi Hao drew many eyes along the way here, sizing him up. It was because Wang Shi had extraordinary status, so the person she chose naturally deserved to be paid attention to. Fortunately, he had already changed his appearance before coming here, not displaying his true appearance when coming here, or else he would definitely be recognized. He encountered people from the 3,000 provinces along the way. If there was no Yuan Qing, then that was that, but after learning that Yuan Qing could depart without being troubled much, there was definitely a need for Shi Hao to remain on guard. Shi Hao felt that he couldn't contact his old friends yet to avoid letting side issues continue growing. Clear light, secluded woods had a few thatched cottages that looked simple and ordinary, blending into this natural type of setting. Meanwhile, not far out was a cave cut from a stone wall. It released a peaceful light, wisps of chaotic energy accompanying this place. One could tell from a single glance that this was a cultivation pure land. Shi Hao and the 2 other chosen individuals were brought into the cave. When they entered the stone wall, They immediately felt a blast of heaven and earth essence, so rich it was like water. This was the result of the nourishment of 10 divine mountains' ancestral veins, all of the heaven and earth essence nurturing this cave. Inside the cave, colors shone brilliantly, multicolored light pouring out like water, surging from the stone walls and beneath the earth. This original essence would enter one's body even without cultivating. You all can go inside to cultivate, Xianxia said. Even though her expression was quiet and content, she didn't reveal a smile, yet it still gave others a gentle feeling. Aside from the male and female that followed at her side before, she chose another pair of man and woman this time. When the two that came later heard this, they were overjoyed. Cultivating in this type of precious land would definitely result in twice the result with half the effort. They didn't expect Xianxia to be this generous, allowing them to cultivate here instead of building a house outside the cave. Suddenly, a Tao child riding on a magic cloud arrived, informing Xianxia that an elder in the academy was looking for her. Xianxia, you can bring them around to familiarize themselves with the nearby scenery. I will accompany the elder for a bit, Xianxia ordered before leaving. Xianxia was the male who always followed behind Xianxia, heroic and energetic. He was a follower selected before, strength extremely great, long reaching the peak stage of the heavenly deity level. He only cultivated for a few decades, yet already had this type of cultivation, astonishing even in the 9 heavens above. Only, it was a pity that he couldn't cultivate immortal energy, or else his prospects would be limitless. Of course, it wasn't like he was without opportunities because all of the great sects had secret methods. Everyone knew that the heavenly deity level was extremely important, that there was another chance to turn from a fish into a dragon. Moreover, this chance was extremely important. If one grasped it, then they might even surpass the exceptional geniuses who shot up before. That was why Xianxia was always waiting for a chance, never feeling too dejected, believing that he would one day be on equal footing with the most powerful individuals. The reason why Xianxia chose him was also precisely because she saw his potential, keeping him at her side. Xianxia understood this well, and as such felt an even greater surge of motivation, carrying a passionate ambition as well. When Xianxia left, Xianxia brought Hao and the others around the 10 divine cliffs to familiarize themselves with the surroundings and other things. It had to be mentioned that this region was extremely vast. Every single mountain occupied an extremely large amount of land, surrounded by hazy mists, releasing strand after strand of multicolored light. Even though we can cultivate inside the cave, we have our own places to stay. Everyone can choose a divine cliff, Xianxia said. He pointed towards 10 great peaks. There were those that were entirely black, those with sparkling purple light, another with scarlet multicolored light that rushed into the heavens, all of them magical and extraordinary. Both him and the other lady had long entered, making their choice, occupying 2 peaks. From what they said, normally it was still best to cultivate in their own divine cliffs and not go into the cave to disturb Xianxia, even though she permitted them to go there. Right, it was still better for them to understand propriety. It was because even true disciples only had a single divine cliff. When he saw that the 2 others who came with him already chose their divine cliffs, Hao didn't want to make things difficult for Xianxia and the others either. Even though he wasn't a follower, it was still best not to go too far. Why aren't there that many birds and beasts here? Hao looked around. There are more in that direction. The young lady named Sulan next to Xianxia pointed. Back then, she was chosen together with Xianxia, also already long reaching the peak of the heavenly deity realm, her strength exceptional. If one eliminated the element of immortal energy, Xianxia and Sulan weren't any bit inferior to the official disciples. Hao faced the sky, seeing a few vicious beasts roaming about and some divine birds spreading their wings. The area that mountain occupied was the largest. Can the wild animals here be eaten? Hao asked. Sulan was a bit stupefied, Xianxia also somewhat petrified. As for the man and woman who came with Hao, they were a bit speechless. Looking at him, this seemed truly a bit cold. You can, but some are reserved as mounts, Xianxia said. As a result, he was cut off by Hao. Got it. Those 4 looked at each other in dismay, having a bad feeling. They looked at Shi Hao and then at that mountain region. In a bit, I'll invite you guys to eat roasted silver sky centipede casserole, Shi Hao said. He saw a few long silver centipedes. The four of them raised their heads at the same time. This appetite was just too great. Let's just do roasted golden-winged pong casserole then. Shi Hao then saw a golden divine bird that flew about in the sky. That's not our region, don't eat randomly. It'll be bad if the other geniuses come knocking on our door. Those are likely their mounts. These people really were given a fright. This person really left them worried. How could he say this kind of thing after just entering? Forget it. I'll go down into the cold pool to catch a flood dragon, and then grab a green luan from the stone cliffs. Just fix together something randomly, Shi Hao said. When Su Lan heard this, she almost stumbled. Just what kind of freak did they end up inviting? Those people were all a bit speechless. That green luan has true phoenix blood inside. Fairy Wang, she sometimes uses it to travel, Chen Nua said with a wooden expression. Truly dull, Shi Hao said while shaking his head. It was unknown whether he was talking about this place not having anything to eat, or if he was saying they didn't know how to laugh at jokes. These people couldn't really understand his intentions. Soon after selecting their respective divine cliffs, they then returned to the cave in the stone cliff, the origin of the 10 earth veins. There was immortal Tao origin essence from the underground ancestral veins. They wanted to wait for Wang Shi here. She definitely had orders when she returned. You all do not need to feel reserved. Can select a precious land in this cave to sit down first, Su Lan said, having them feel more at ease. Of course, this was spoken to the male and female, definitely not to Shi Hao. It was because this fella already strolled around on his own after entering, not worrying about much at all. Chen Nua's expression was a bit ugly. If not for Shi Hao's identity being a bit special, not being chosen as a follower, he would have opened his mouth to berate him a long time ago. Right now, both him and Su Lan had one eye opened, one eye closed. Ei? He disappeared. An hour later, Chen Nua and Su Lan were both shocked. It was because when they woke up from their meditation, they could no longer detect Shi Hao's whereabouts, unable to sense his aura. The other two were quite speechless as well. This person was just too easygoing. Did he wander off and get lost? Not good. Don't tell me he went into the young misplace of rest. Chang Nua's expression changed, rising to his feet. Su Lan was also shocked, quickly heading towards a direction. There were some areas in this cave they naturally couldn't enter, the small area where Wang Shi cultivated alone, only able to enter when making reports. Is this fella a formation master? He really broke through this sealed door, able to enter. When they entered the cavern depths, they were a bit shocked. A stone door was opened, overflowing with color. Great Tao divine lights swirled about inside. Incredibly divine. In reality, Shi Hao didn't enter by breaking the formation, but used his own immortal energy to push open the stone door. You are quite daring. Actually daring to use the young Miss Bed? Chen Nua cried out, his face falling, eyes flickering with cold light as he looked at the person inside. Su Lan was also a bit stupefied as she looked at Shi Hao, not knowing what to say. Stop speaking randomly. Isn't this just a wondrous rock? Shi Hao opened his eyes, entire body feeling rather comfortable. This was a stone room, inside a Zhonglong rock that was sparkling and translucent. When he sat here, he could actually harmonize with heaven and earth, quickly entering a Tao comprehension state. It was extremely astonishing. That is the young Miss Bed, a place no one else has ever used. This was brought from the Wang family, Su Lan said. Oh, I thought it was just a Tao comprehension platform, so there was this type of story. Shi Hao got up, walking off the stone platform. You actually did this type of thing, going on to the young Miss Bed. This matter isn't finished, Chen Nua said angrily. Just a bit of misunderstanding, Shi Hao said. Right at this moment, a cry of alarm sounded from outside the immortal cave. Someone went on Fairy Wang Shi's bed? Hey! Stop speaking randomly. Shi Hao was alarmed, releasing a shout. Even now, Chen Nua and Su Lan felt like something was wrong. Rushing out. Heavens! Someone went on to Wang Shi's bed. A woman outside shouted loudly, voice transmitting into the sky, fearing that others didn't hear her before. "Who is this girl?" Shihao asked. "She is Princess Yao Yu's best friend, as well as a powerful official disciple," Su Lan said. Princess Yao Yu and Wang Shi normally always had a relationship of competitors extremely fierce. This good friend of Princess Yao Yu was clearly doing this on purpose. "What? Who is it? Who dares enter Fairy Wang Shi's bed?" A response sounded from the distance. At the entrance of the cave, those individuals knew that there was great trouble. Now that this type of thing spread, how was Wang Shi going to react? Clear light secluded woods, a place with rich woods, mists pervading the air, multicolored clouds brilliant. That woman's voice transmitted far into the distance. One had to bear in mind that this was heavenly deity institution. Everyone's hearing exceptionally sharp. Who wouldn't be able to hear this? Even though this place was extremely large, mountain region vast, there were still people who heard her voice from the distance, immediately becoming petrified. Is this an illusion? What am I hearing? This was what everyone was thinking. It was too shocking. Not daring to believe this. Going on Wang Shi's bed. Was there any news more shocking than this? It was earth-shattering. Wang family's young miss cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, aloof and beyond reach. In everyone's eyes, she was too extraordinary, high above, the goddess of many geniuses. In the end, there was this type of information. It definitely had a great toppling effect. This woman is crazy. Su Lan stamped her feet. She knew that things were bad. The other person was definitely doing this on purpose, to cause misunderstandings. Regardless of whether others believed or not, once news of this got out, it would tarnish the Wang family young miss reputation. This made Chen Nua and Su Lan panic a bit. "Young Lady Qilin, doesn't your distinguished self feel that this is going a bit too far?" Su Lan spoke. "I am merely declaring a fact. Could it be that I'm wrong? I personally heard it," Qilin said with a smile from the distance. In Su Lan and Chen Nua's opinion, that smile was extremely fake, extremely despicable. Only, as followers of an official disciple, they weren't Qilin's opponent. If Princess Yao Yu knew about this, she might not necessarily approve of your distinguished self's actions. Su Lan did her best to lower her tone. Qilin laughed. Like a fairy walking on ripples, she disappeared from that place. She left, but this place couldn't remain calm. There were immediately official disciples who rushed over to ask what exactly happened. What happened? Was what Qilin said just now true? 4 or 5 young men rushed over, their eyes penetrating, extremely fierce. They stared at those people, loudly asking, "Of course it's false. You even believe that woman's words." Shihao spoke decisively. He didn't want to be caught up into trouble for no reason. This was especially when he was being framed by others. Even though she didn't direct this at him but wanted to deal with Wang Shi, he still didn't want to get involved in this type of thing. "You speak." Right at this time, one of them shouted, pointing at the young lady that Wang Shi had just taken as a follower, his eyes releasing strange light, intimidating as he said, "Was what Qilin said true?" He was displaying a great divine ability. When the other party was caught off guard, it could control one's mind, making them speak the truth. "Yes, he went on Fairy Wang Shi's bed." That woman's eyes looked sluggish, expressionlessly pointing towards Shihao. "What?" Those young men cried out in alarm, truly unable to believe what they were hearing. Just now, they were just casually testing, yet there really was this absurd truth. They couldn't accept this. There was actually this type of thing that happened to the most stunning woman of a long-life family. It really was a bit unreal. They opened their mouths, not knowing what to say. "This fella went on to young Miss Wang Shi's bed?" Someone shouted, expression going rigid. Then he became furious, feeling that this was too much of a joke. Just this kind of ant, just a follower, what qualifications did he have to obtain a long-life family's fairy's invitation? This was too laughable. "It isn't like that," Su Lan hurriedly explained. "If this type of thing was leaked out, then it really would only make things worse." However, that young man's voice was extremely loud, ringing through the mountain region. The individuals who were currently hurrying overheard it. Putong. Not far out, someone found it hard to accept, directly falling from midair. The expressions of those who rushed over all went sluggish one after another. This type of news was too terrifying, absolutely crazy, leaving them in a daze. I don't believe it, someone shouted loudly. Regardless, it's already all true. You all heard it just now. Qi-Lin said from the distance. It's not like that at all. Chen Nua hurriedly tried to explain the situation to the nearby people. Only, the angry shouts had long spread far into the distance, stirring up great waves. There were a few overly sensitive men who were extremely dejected. The news smashed into the great sea like a meteor, triggering heaven-reaching waves. Chen Nua and Su Lan explained, easing the tension here. They released a breath. However, when they looked at Shi Hao, their eyes were still forceful. Unfortunately, the people in the distance didn't understand the situation because of Qi-Lin and the others' earlier misunderstanding. Together with the anger of the others, the rumors were spreading. This was a bit preposterous, but it really was happening, all because it involved someone like Wang Shi, this exceptional fairy. It was difficult even if they didn't want to draw attention. Regardless of whether it was true or false, once the news spread, it would spread like a tide, surging outwards. It's false, we already heard the explanation. In front of clear light, secluded woods, a few young geniuses explained. However, the people who rushed over ignored them, news spreading quickly. Soon after, there were some who said this was a farce, but some who solemnly vowed that they heard the truth, that someone went onto Wang Shi's bed. There was immediately a huge uproar, quite a few people coming, all of them official disciples, coming here for verification. Just a servant, yet you dare speak randomly, tarnishing the young Miss reputation. An ugly toad trying to eat swan meat. No, it's true, not nonsense. The rumors got more and more distorted the more they were spread, triggering a huge commotion. Where is that servant? I'm going to slaughter him. Sure, that person isn't a servant, but a Dao friend Fairy Wang she personally invited. No wonder, didn't I say before? How could a normal person get on Fairy Wang Shi's bed? It was clear that there were people trying to add fuel to the flames, purposely spreading rumors to obscure the facts. Chen Nua and Su Lan were simply about to go crazy. Clear light, secluded woods ended up being surrounded like this for no good reason, so many people coming, all of them seeking verification from them. Meanwhile, there were many people speaking randomly nearby. This was simply an absurd disaster, just too much injustice. It was clear that this was originally a misunderstanding with just someone who spread it maliciously, but it now completely changed, a bit hard to explain, things getting worse the more they tried to fix it. The people who came before believed their explanation, but later on, others stirred up a disorder, their goals impure, causing this place to become extremely noisy. We already said that it's fake. Why don't you all believe us? Are you purposely trying to splash dirty water? When our clan's young miss returns, she will definitely pay all of you a visit. Su Lan said angrily. Hey youngster, you seem quite carefree, as if it has nothing to do with you. What exactly is going on? Someone began to provoke Shi Hao. Shi Hao gave them a glance, knowing these people were purposely stirring up trouble. No matter what he said, it would be distorted and turned against them. That was why he directly ignored them. Heh, quite the temper we have here. Regardless, you seem to have quite the guts, going on Wang Shi's bed. Haha. Someone laughed loudly. Good for nothing. Shi Hao only had these words, simple and direct. This place immediately became a bit cold, killing intent pervading the air. Many people were shocked, looking towards him. Su Lan immediately felt her scalp turning numb. These were a group of people who cultivated immortal energy, every one of them powerful. If Wang Shi wasn't here, who could stop them? She felt that the young Miss' decision to bring this fellow was truly a mistake, about to stir up great trouble. Even a loser dares to provoke us like this? Just a thing who doesn't know the difference between life and death. Someone shouted coldly. Suddenly, multicolored light scattered down from the sky, ripples moving out, carrying a holy and pure aura. Wang Shi returned, clothes fluttering about, snow-white skin smooth and glowing, descending into the secluded forest. She heard the news, knowing what happened. She looked at Xianxia, expression strange. Even she was a bit speechless. This fella really was good at stirring things up, already creating such a disturbance after just arriving. She was naturally embarrassed. When news arrived, she really wanted to give Xianxia a beating, and then fiercely torment him. However, she finally calmed down a bit along the way. When she came here, what was shocking was that she took a deep breath, not saying anything and looking towards Xianxia. Fairy Shi, this person is slandering your purity. This person needs to be eliminated. Exactly. It was proved just now that he really did do this type of thing. Someone echoed. Xianxia watched with the cool eye of a bystander, feeling a wave of malice. The ones who were speaking out were one thing, the ones stirring things up in the dark were even more despicable. Such a small thing was made into such a big deal. If you good-for-nothings don't back off, all of you will be slapped to death one by one, Xianxia said, extremely domineering. This place immediately became quiet. Then those people roared with laughter. Don't even have the qualifications to enter Heavenly Deity Institution, yet you dare boast shamelessly in front of us? This really is cute. Pitifully stupid. Actually daring to say this type of thing? A few people laughed loudly. She didn't say anything, watching from the side. The group of people looked at each other in dismay. This fella really was something, even having the nerve to say something like this? What qualifications did he have? He couldn't even enter Heavenly Deity Institution, yet he dared to put on this kind of display. Official disciples inside Heavenly Deity Institution are not permitted to kill each other, She said in an extremely calm voice. Xianxia nodded, expressing that he understood. I am not an official disciple, so killing one or two shouldn't be too big of a problem, right? Forget about others. Even she was a bit speechless. She wanted to tell this fella that he couldn't unleash a slaughter, yet in the end was misunderstood this way. Of course, she still believed that this fella was purposely feigning stupidity. As for the others, they didn't understand that much. Quite a few of their faces fell, sneering endlessly, truly angered by Xianxia. In their eyes, he was nothing more than trash, not even immortal energy cultivated. Yet he dared to boast shamelessly before them? Moron. You couldn't even make it into Heavenly Deity Institution. What qualifications do you have to shout at us like this? Do you think you can get great fame by acting like this? You have to learn this thing called consequence. When the time comes, you will pay a tremendous price, losing your life. These people were naturally discontent. If they were looked down on by Lu Tuo, Feng Xingtian or others like this, then that was still understandable, but even this loser dared to show them despise, leaving them beyond furious. Let me deal with him. Not knowing how to behave himself after entering Heavenly Deity Institution. Someone has to teach him a few things. Teach him a lesson. Someone spoke, walking over. Archaic demonic bear's descendant. Can it be eaten? Xianxia stared at the one who came, seeing his original body, and then asked Shi like this. The group of people were stunned, unable to react to this. This demonic bear was first stunned, and then he became furious. This fellow wanted to kill and eat him? He really knew how to draw hatred. Many people laughed, feeling that this fellow was a bit strange. However, quite a few of their faces were cold, waiting for Xianxia to be defeated. You really cannot kill, Shi said to him, shaking her head. Only she knew that he was not simple, likely having 2 strands of immortal energy. Really is boring. That bear pole really is good meat. Only being able to watch without eating really is a waste. Xianxia expressed regret. Motherfucker. Did he really not know? Or was he pretending? When faced with this demonic bear who cultivated immortal energy, he dared to act so rude. Truly a young calf who didn't fear tigers. The demonic bear felt great resentment, incredibly stifled, feeling quite repressed. Instead of speaking to this young man, he would rather just tear him into 2. I'm going to kill you. The demonic bear pounced over. Xianxia moved to the side, saying, It's not like I can't eat you. This place not allowing killing, truly uninteresting. No one knew what was good to say. This fellow was just too bursting with self-confidence, daring to act so arrogant before official disciples. The demonic bear closed in again, body releasing purple light. Even though he was still in human form, a beast-like aura was released, wild, domineering, and cruel. Who is supervising this place? Hurry and get this crazy bear out of here, Xianxia said. Acting so cowardly, are you scared? Not even willing to fight. The bystanders shouted, ridiculing him. Is there any point in being scared of flies like you all? Xianxia replied. This immediately made them furious. The faces of the people who stood against him fell, releasing killing intent. Xianxia didn't pay them any attention, turning around and walking straight towards Wuxia's cave where multicolored light surged and chaotic mist seeped out. This region's pure land. Wuxia shot him a sidelong glance. This fella really was acting overly familiar. He ran inside even when the owner was right here, not acting politely at all. You, get back here, the demonic bear shouted. He was extremely angry, but he didn't dare enter Wuxia's cave, because that was a restricted area. For them, this was an expert comparable to Lu Tuo. And I should go back just because you told me to? What benefit is there in fighting you? There is no feeling of accomplishment from beating you at all, just a waste of time. Xianxia's words were hard for everyone to bear. Regardless of how they looked at it, he didn't have the qualifications to compare himself to people who cultivated immortal energy. However, in the end, he was still so impudent, mocking them again and again. This is your fight, yet you want to extort others? The demonic bear's eyes were cold, expression dark. If you have satisfactory treasures to bring out, then I can fight against you. Otherwise, just go stay off to the side, Xianxia said. The group of people were simply angered badly. One had to offer up a reward if they wanted to fight against him, actually speaking about conditions. How could this be endured? I have 2 heavenly deity secret treasures here, the demonic bear said. My fist can even blast apart heavenly deity secret treasures. Why do I need those? Aren't you a fella who cultivated immortal energy? So poor. No heavenly materials, Xianxia asked. While looking at his face of astonishment, the demonic bear really wanted to give him a slap to the face, smack him until his face swelled. He really lacked a beating. Are you all that poor? No true phoenix blood? 9 revolutions immortal pill? Ancient heavenly art secret texts and others? Xianxia asked. With things already reaching this stage, everyone knew that this fella did all of this on purpose. He was just too shameless, too hateful. I have a furnace of purple palace elixir. Purple palace elixir, this was heaven and earth essence. Difficult to find, rumored to have all types of wondrous uses. Only Xianxia still curled his lips. I'm already a holy sacrifice realm expert. Even though purple palace elixir is valuable, it's not that useful for me. There are many types of purple palace elixir. The ones you've seen might just be those with bits of purple multicolored specks, the normal type. In reality, there are many higher levels of purple palace elixir, the demonic bear said. While speaking, he produced a pill furnace. It flowed with multicolored light, truly brilliant. The inside of that pill furnace was actually full of purple palace elixir, but it was a bit special. The purple liquid had waves of 5-colored mists surging from it. Purple palace immortal mist? Xianxia was shocked. According to records of theory, there were some rare purple palace elixir that had immortal energy, these things definitely rarely seen. Even though the demonic bear's purple palace elixir was extraordinary, it still didn't reach the legendary grade. Still a bit off. Alright, this'll do then. Since you are gifting this purple palace elixir to me in such sincerity, then I won't make things too difficult for you. Xianxia nodded his head and said, putting on an extremely pleased look. Xianxia directly rushed out from the cave, taking the initiative to attack the opponent, fight against the demonic bear. Acting this recklessly, purely seeking death, so noisy, but won't accomplish anything. These people couldn't help but look down on Xianxia, all of them looking down on him. However, Xianxia really was too fast. An expanse of symbols appeared when he raised his hand, looking like he was going to display a great method. After a moment of interaction, Hao sighed inwardly. This person's speed was faster, too difficult for him to display a secret technique against. Pong! They fought intensely in close quarters, radiance shining like that of ascension, bone texts interweaving, the two becoming extremely brilliant. Just a single encounter left the demonic bear almost coughing out blood, but he forcefully endured it. If others found out, would he have any face left? Everyone became shocked. Who was this? Did he really not have the qualifications to enter Heavenly Deity Institution? He can actually fight against the demonic bear? Injure him? A few people cried out in alarm. This was just too unexpected. Hong! The demonic bear brandished his arm, still not displaying its original body. The energy around him was intense and powerful, surging like great waves, divine force surging. Moreover, at this time he activated a strand of immortal energy, because he was furious. Hao dodged out of the way. The immortal energy that rushed over released woo-woo sounds. Extremely frightening. If it was a normal person, they would have been restrained a long time ago. This was a strange scene. The two of them moved about each other, the battle looking a lot simpler than what it actually was like. They rarely made contact, but the divine force was astonishing, moreover disappearing in an instant, too fast. Chi! Suddenly, Hao's 10 fingers moved, extremely vicious, moving past the strand of immortal energy, extremely fast, simply about to disappear from this space. Pong! Suddenly, Hao moved around the demonic bear with extreme speed, avoiding the immortal energy, striking his body, sending him flying several dozen zhang away. His body smashed into the ground, coughing out large amounts of blood. In that instant, everyone became petrified. Was there still heavenly reason? Someone who hadn't cultivated immortal energy actually defeated the archaic demonic bear. What kind of battle accomplishment was this? It was too astonishing and glorious. Even Wang felt her mind jump. An official disciple was defeated just like that? This fella even fought barehandedly, not using immortal Tao energy to support himself, yet won. It was too astonishing. There's still this type of person, defeating someone who has immortal energy. Someone muttered. This was a great feat. Everyone felt that this was inconceivable. Countless pairs of eyes landed on Hao. Everyone immediately began to think many things. Since there was still a chance for a fish to become a dragon in the heavenly deity realm, this fella might very well become heaven-defying. Rush up one day. This purple palace elixir is mine then. After saying this, he directly took the pill furnace. Anyone else want to give it a try? He asked. Right here, someone shouted. Then bring over heavenly treasures, or else I don't have time to waste, Hao said directly. Immediately afterwards, this place became quiet again. Was he a genius with astonishing talent or a rarely seen, extremely annoying person? Everyone felt a bit stunned. Hao turned around, entering Wang's cave. He found a clean bluestone and sat down, starting to examine this spoil of war, purple palace elixir. This thing had 5 colored mists swirling about. Even though it wasn't immortal energy, it was definitely unordinary. What a pity. It's not immortal energy. He was a bit dissatisfied. The crowd curled their lips. Purple palace elixir that really produced immortal energy. Just how astonishing was something like this? It wouldn't be much inferior to long-life medicines, appearing only a few times in history. I'll fight against you. A silver pangolin appeared, turning into its original form. Less nonsense. Bring out divine treasure first, or else I don't have time to play with you. Hao spoke pompously, not giving them any face. In the eyes of the official disciples, those who didn't cultivate immortal energy were inferior goods. Even though Hao won just now, in most of their eyes it was because of luck. That was why he spoke like this, making many people unhappy. After all, this was just a servant in their eyes. Yet now, he was so rude and unbridled, talking arrogantly, climbing onto their heads. Many people couldn't accept this. Wang wouldn't think like this because she knew how unordinary this youngster was. Definitely not inferior goods. It was because he had 2 strands of immortal energy. Moreover, She carefully watched the battle just now, confident that Hao didn't secretly use immortal energy to support himself, defeating his opponent without using immortal Tao energy. I have a half-sect master-level magical artifact, the silver pangolin said through clenched teeth. When had a servant in the academy ever dared to challenge official disciples like himself? It made him feel a type of humiliation. Be careful, those beside him warned. Even though they were unconvinced, many of them couldn't help but sigh. This person was extremely frightening. Defeating someone with immortal energy without any himself, worthy of being called stunning. Forget about half-sect master magical artifact. Even if it was the real thing, it wouldn't be enough. I only need divine medicines, phoenix blood, and the like. If you don't have, then please go away, Hao said. This type of tone, this type of stance made the pangolin and others' teeth roots itch. I have a bit of phoenix blood here. Fight me, the pangolin shouted. He produced a crystal ball the size of a fist, sealed within which was a sphere of dark red blood, sparkling and translucent. There were only Lu Tuo, Feng Xingtian, Wang Shi and a few other people in the academy who had the qualifications to enter the blood pool, bathe in large amounts of phoenix blood. The others, unless they had astonishing displays, could only obtain a bit through merit. Come then, Hao laughed loudly, eyes shining. He had some of this phoenix blood on him too, the amount of he collected from suppressing a group of geniuses in Origin Ancient Mine. He decided to continue collecting it, and then when the time came to also bathe in phoenix blood, cleanse his flesh and undergo a great rebirth. Hand over your life, the silver pangolin shouted, releasing a strand of immortal energy from his mouth. It quickly surrounded his body as he rushed forward. Is this some steelhead technique? Hao ridiculed, describing the pangolin clan's innate divine method as a common mortal world technique. Space shattered. That pangolin was too fast, not charging through mountain rock, but the void. Its body moved like a barbaric dragon, wild and powerful, immediately closing to distance to pierce through Hao. Hao shifted to the side. In the end, the pangolin rushed past, and at the same time, the silver-white tail swung over with a paw sound. Cracks extended in the void, releasing rumbling sounds. Moreover, a type of mysterious natural laws appeared, surrounding towards Hao, about to imprison him here. Hong! In that instant, Hao's entire body shone, breaking free from the restrictions. Like a berserk vicious beast, every action he made seemed to carry dominating power, bare-handedly hacking towards the long tail. Pa! A loud and clear sound rang through the air. His palm and the pangolin's tail smashed together, sparks flying. There were symbols and natural law ripples shaking the void. Everyone's expressions changed. The pangolin's flesh was renowned for its domineering might, and now with the immortal energy supporting his body, forcing this person to face it head-on, it still unexpectedly didn't do anything. This fella is a bit scary. Is he walking the extreme body-cultivating path? Someone speculated, feeling great restraining fear. He could unexpectedly face the pangolin's flesh that was supported by immortal energy head-on. Just too terrifying. A roar sounded. Like a spinning top, the pangolin erupted with dazzling silver light, entire body moving, sweeping outwards. The void was crushed. It turned into a slaughtering demonic god. In this situation, even if Hao used immortal energy to confront it, he would still be on the losing end. It was because the pangolin was fighting in its most powerful domain, body twisting about as it smashed over murderously. The space around this place was like a painting that was brutally torn, and Hao was trapped within. Dang! Something that left everyone shocked happened. Hao formed a fist imprint, continuously striking that blast of silver light, as if he was striking steel. His body displayed illusory footwork, surrounding the pangolin as he attacked. He can still fight head-on? No. His attacks are carefully selected, each strike only hitting the pangolin's weakest point. Everyone was shocked. He actually saw through the pangolin's method, able to understand the movements of the bone text paths in its body. It was too precise. The strikes effectively collapsed the pangolin's crazy attacks, causing the newly gathered power in its body to collapse, unable to quickly condense. This was a bit too shocking. He didn't use exceptional precious techniques, using the simplest methods to attack the pangolin, leaving it in complete disbelief. His magical force was being restrained. The most important thing was that he bare-handedly stopped immortal energy. When everyone saw the scene, they gasped. This fella's combat awareness was too powerful, understanding everything about the pangolin, using near-perfect combat technique to neutralize the other party. Pong! Sure Hao took action continuously, sending the pangolin flying. Terrifying fist imprints struck down on the scales again and again, blood now dripping out from its body. The pangolin released a miserable scream, protecting its body with the strand of immortal energy. It fell on the ground, collapsing into a pool of blood, receiving serious injuries. Thanks a bunch. I really did need this type of phoenix blood. Sure Hao landed gently on the ground, none of his previous craziness seen. He picked up the crystal with precious blood sealed within. Anyone else? Sure Hao looked to the crowd, revealing a harmless smile. I'm going to say it first, from now on I'm only taking phoenix blood. I don't want any other heavenly treasures. This person is definitely crazy. The crowd all wanted to rush over and beat him to the ground, then throw him into the rear mountain's netherworld well, suppress him for 100 years. It was because this fellow was too arrogant actually saying these types of things. Many people couldn't immediately shift opinions, still seeing him as Wang Shi's servant. There were naturally people who didn't believe the supernatural taking action again. In the end, Sure Hao obtained another lump of phoenix blood, feeling quite satisfied. Even though they were unwilling, not many people dared take action again. They encountered a freak. Even though he didn't cultivate immortal energy, he still managed to suppress them. Then, when Wang Shi spoke, releasing terrifying might, these people kept quiet out of fear, no longer daring to dally here, all of them leaving. Of course, this matter wasn't finished. A great storm was brewing. Wang Shi's name was well known through the 9 heavens. She cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, had unmatched immortal beauty. No one dared to provoke her before her face. However, they truly hated that follower she summoned bad, or to be more precise, the Tao friend she invited in. When this matter spread, people came to challenge him continuously. Earlier, even though those people weren't a match, it didn't mean that there were no experts in the academy, but rather that all of the true experts were in seclusion. Now, there were people who began to invite them out. There is no need to invite those with 2 strands of immortal energy. Just have Ranlong, Mo and others take action. A single strand of immortal energy is also enough to suppress Hemi. The people they mentioned were all in seclusion, difficult to get them to participate. However, there were still some people who were invited over, declaring their challenge against Sure Hao, creating a huge commotion. Sure Hao was quite decisive, not going to fight anyone who didn't bring phoenix blood, angering everyone until their faces became ashen. For the sake of fighting him, they still had to go borrow phoenix blood. Of course, they also made a request. If Sure Hao lost, he had to hand over phoenix blood or purple palace elixir. In the end, these people were defeated again and again, continuously losing. In just a brief 2 days, Sure Hao acquired 6 more lumps of true blood, making the others feel endless pain, incredibly dejected. Too hateful. We can't even defeat one of Wang Shi's servants? Someone shouted, expression unpleasant, face fallen. They were all outstanding talents of their clans, known as the most powerful young experts, yet in the end, after entering Heavenly Deity Institution, they were overwhelmed by Lu Tuo, Princess Yao Yu, Wang Shi, and others, but that was that. Now, they couldn't even compare to Wang Shi's follower, truly a great mental blow, making many people feel a wave of defeat. Sure Hao, who had close to 10 lumps of phoenix blood and a furnace of purple palace elixir, was extremely satisfied. Now preparing to find a way to win some more heavenly treasures, and then enter seclusion cultivation. Wang Shi was quite shocked. After this fella came, he did whatever he wanted, not uncomfortable at all. He cultivated in her cave this entire time, not acting politely at all. This left Chen Nuo, Su Lan and the others all speechless, also feeling discontent. Even they normally cultivated in their own divine mountains, not easily entering this cave. Meanwhile, this fella didn't show the slightest bit of propriety. Your strength is not bad. Seize this chance to cultivate. After some time, join me in battle. Wang Shi said to Shi Hao. Shi Hao was too preoccupied to ask what he was going to fight against, just half-heartedly saying a few things. However, he immediately snapped back. Immortal battlefield? He was extremely shocked. You are saying that Lu Tuo, Feng Xingtian and the other experts are also bringing people over? Shi Hao's mind was moved. He was contemplating whether or not he should go there to get rid of some people. Immortal battlefield. This was a place where true immortals had fought intensely. Even though a great era had now passed, there were still too many mysteries in that ancient land. It was to the extent where there were even mysterious creatures roaming about. After all these years, ever since that area was excavated and discovered, large amounts of cultivators would head there to explore the ancient land. There are immortal Tao scriptures and strange creatures there. The battlefield is sometimes peaceful, sometimes extremely dangerous. This was Wang Shi's description. Those were remains that had been sealed up previously, a place with too many unsolved mysteries. Regardless of whether it was powerful or ordinary people who entered, all of them had a chance of obtaining opportunities of their own. Of course, this was not without danger. Shi Hao was quite interested, asking quite a bit about it. This was especially the case after he learned that there were strange creatures that grew there, making him want to understand the place in detail even more. Those creatures are quite strange, as if they don't actually belong to these 9 heavens 10 earths. Wang Shi said, not belonging to our side. Could it be guests from the other shore? Shi Hao was alarmed. I believe that place might very likely be like the desolate border, connected to another world. Wang Shi said, there were a few void cracks in that place. Even though there were those who tried to open them up, they didn't see anything. However, there were still people who suspected that those areas were not simple. Interesting. Shi Hao nodded. You should seize this chance to cultivate. We might have to leave after a period of time. Wang Shi said. She gave the diamond band on Shi Hao's head a look. Even though she invited back a Tao friend, with that magical artifact restricting him, she still felt that this youngster could be considered a follower. Do you guys have any scriptures or cultivation manuals here? Shi Hao asked, not acting like an outsider at all. He knew that after entering Heavenly Deity Institution, true heavenly talents could obtain many cultivation secret manuals, among them no lack of immortal Tao scriptures. There are immortal Tao scriptures in the academy, but I still have not obtained the chance to read them. Wang Shi said. Her sparkling white cheeks and exceptionally beautiful face had a life-toppling style. Without a doubt, her words carried quite the attraction, especially since she usually acted indifferent, yet now actually spoke like this. Why did Shi Hao come? He came precisely to cultivate, so he was naturally moved. If one wishes to obtain the immortal Tao scriptures, one needs battle accomplishments, needing to complete all types of missions the Academy issues out. This can also be considered a type of test for us, I presume. Wang Shi explained a step further. Shi Hao nodded. He also understood a step further that heading for the immortal battlefield was also a type of harsh test for these geniuses, to see which one of them had the best performance. Wang Shi treated this event with great importance. She was one of the most powerful disciples in the academy, so she wouldn't let such a great opportunity to display her talents go. When the time comes, let me take a look at the immortal Tao scriptures too. I can help you get rid of a group of people. Shi Hao didn't cover anything up, saying this with a smile, eyes flickering with brilliance. He didn't mind unleashing a great slaughter at all, for example, the Wind Clan, if he was certain that it was they who incited Yuanqing. He didn't mind eliminating Feng Xingtian on that battlefield. Apart from this, Yuanqing's descendant, there was no need to say anything else. This was definitely an assassination target. When he thought up to this, Shi Hao's mind began to become a bit heated. He was finally going to clash with Heavenly Deity Institution's exceptional geniuses. Take a look at just how powerful these people were exactly. Of course, after entering that ancient battlefield, he would definitely run into old opponents like Ten Crown King, Exiled Immortal, and Ning Chuan. Meanwhile, those like Princess Yao Yu, Lu Tuo, these types of most powerful geniuses, they were definitely going to take action as well. These individuals will definitely display their brilliance in that place. Fight an intense great battle. I have a few scriptures here borrowed from the Academy. Even though they aren't immortal Tao scriptures, they are still quite precious, especially the insights of predecessors. You can use them for reference. Xianxia said. She had a few secret texts, all of them originals that had to be returned after they were examined. She handed them over to Shi Hao. Shi Hao accepted these inscribed bone pieces and jade strips, immediately understanding their value. It was because these were all personally carved by the scripture writer, containing the most original true meaning. This wasn't a rubbing of inscription, containing the purest essence, the leftover spiritual imprints. Shi Hao looked through them one after another seriously, extremely engrossed. There was one scripture that spoke about the relationship between condensed magical imprints and the world, another speaking about how to nurture the primordial spirit. There was one that recorded all types of ancient wars. Shi Hao continuously nodded his head. These were all the accumulation of those before him. When he read through them, it was as if he could sense their mental states while creating these. This book isn't bad. Talking about how to create a technique. Extremely enlightening. Shi Hao held a piece of damaged bone, reading it extremely seriously and thoroughly. In this jade book, there were two types of texts. One was the original text belonging to Immortal Ancient, the other a type of bone text that belonged to the present world, added by later generations. He read it from start to finish, feeling quite moved. It was because even a long time ago, there were those who sighed with regret, feeling a need to produce a new cultivation system and become even stronger, and only then could they defeat the enemy, prevent Immortal Ancient Great Era from being destroyed. Shi Hao spent quite a while reading this. He sighed softly, saying, "One day, will I be able to create a new cultivation system too? Wu, you also have this type of ambition?" Xianxia was shocked. She then added, "The Academy had previously requested us to try our best to try and establish different paths. Anyone who manages to obtain some success will receive tremendous assistance." "What kind of reward does the Academy have?" Shi Hao asked. "If one can truly create that type of path, the Academy will open up its entire library to you, including many precious immortal Tao scriptures you can flip through." Xianxia replied. Of course, aside from this, they would do their best to offer all types of divine medicines, phoenix blood, and other things attentively foster that individual. Shi Hao was shocked, saying, "The Academy longs for it this greatly?" Xianxia sighed, her beautiful face a bit serious. "Our current cultivation system has already been completely researched by those creatures. So we need innovation and change." Those creatures referred to the enemy, right? Shi Hao suddenly felt his mind becoming a bit heavy. Even if he didn't try to think about it, having himself calm down, that type of nervousness, that type of last day's great battle atmosphere still constantly surrounded him. Soon after, Shi Hao shifted his attention to those bone books Xianxia brought back. There was one book that recorded an ancient method that used unmatched true blood to cleanse the flesh and primordial spirit. "Not bad. I can use it for reference." He read this quite seriously, continuously nodding his head. It was because he still had some phoenix blood on him. Based on what was recorded on the book, he needed to find all types of medicinal herbs. If they were used together, the effects would be increased greatly. "Even though I haven't collected that much phoenix blood, it might be enough if I use it together with those medicinal herbs," Shi Hao said. There was noise outside. There were people who came to issue challenges again. As a result, as expected, Shi Hao welcomed the challenge, winning again, obtaining a bit of true phoenix blood. He was all smiles, expressing that he welcomed their challenge at any time. In the following few days, there were some who were extremely angry, inviting those secluded disciples to emerge from their meditation and suppress Shi Hao. When a male who cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy came out from seclusion and still lost to Shi Hao, even Xianxia was shocked, feeling greatly surprised. It was because this fella still never used immortal energy to support himself. How astonishing was this? He was a bit too powerful compared to his peers. Another few exchanges happened. Shi Hao's battle accomplishments were quite abundant. Now, added together, he already had 14 lumps of phoenix blood, As a result, there were no longer people who wanted to challenge him for a while. Sure how continuously defeated expert, seizing so much true phoenix blood, making many people feel great headaches. Of course, there were quite a few people whose eyes were burning, desiring the phoenix blood, trying to think of a method to seize it back. Sure how was contemplating when he should go meet Qingyi, Chao Yuxing, Chang Gongyan, the little rabbit and the others. However, he felt like since he might kill Feng Xingtian and the others at any time, it wasn't good to expose himself. I have 6 more portions of phoenix blood here. They're all yours. Wang Shi suddenly spoke inside the cave, giving him such a great gift. The 6 crystals were all the size of a fist, sparkling and translucent, replete with moisture. There was sparkling phoenix blood sealed within. Sure how revealed a look of shock. This really was quite astonishing. The diamond band on his forehead made him feel a bit of resentment towards the Wang family, always thinking about how he was going to collect interest. He never expected Wang Shi to give him such precious ancient phoenix blood. You can forget about me becoming a member of the Wang family. I can only at most take you as a wife. This line came out from Shi Hao's mouth as soon as he opened it. Su Lan and Chen Nua, who had just entered to deliver reports, stumbled. What happened? The 2 of them were frightened badly. Did this fella go mad? Wang Shi's expression first went rigid, and then no expression could be seen on her beautiful face. She gave Shi Hao a look, naturally knowing that this fella was purposely speaking randomly, putting on a naive display. You should just hurry and increase your cultivation. When the time comes, I hope you can enter the battlefield. You all can help me with some tasks. Help me stop Lu Tuo, Yao Yu, Shen Kuan, and the others' powerful subordinates. Wang Shi said, for the sake of obtaining immortal Dao scriptures, for the sake of obtaining the Academy's most powerful assistance, she needed to put on a brilliant display, win on the ancient battlefield, requiring the assistance of a powerful expert like Shi Hao. It is because she felt that Shi Hao should be unmatched before those with under 3 strands of immortal energy. The reason she summoned those 2 over was for this sake. Shi Hao was shocked. These were the medicinal herbs he needed to refine with the phoenix blood. It was clear that this time Wang Shi was going to help him to the end. It seemed like the immortal battlefields competition was no small matter. Definitely a competition at the highest level between the most powerful individuals. Wang Shi treated this with extreme importance. 10 days later, a stone room within the depths of this cave cracked, multicolored light surging, auspicious radiance released in thousands of streaks. The entire stone room was full of multicolored light. Shi Hao sat there, calm and quiet, engrossed in his cultivation. Finally, he released a sigh. The second great Dao flower was now quite complete, full of Dao laws, as if this heaven and earth merged together, able to gather endless power. Unfortunately, this flower didn't produce a creature. The first flower had a creature sitting in it, hazy and indistinct, as if it was living in the past, not belonging to the present. Back then, Shi Hao was wondering if there would be a special creature when the second great Dao flower appeared, but he ended up a bit disappointed, not seeing one. He stood up and released a light sigh. Could it be that his suspicions were mistaken? Something's not right. It should be that the opportunity hasn't arrived yet, Shi Hao said. He thought back to how when the first Dao flower bloomed, there were no creatures that appeared either, only later on when it reopened in Origin Ancient Mind did it emerge. This time, there isn't much phoenix blood, so I didn't fully bathe in it, just borrowing some medicinal herbs to produce essence. The amount's still not enough, he said softly. Even though he had 20 portions of true blood, it still wasn't enough to match the requirement of bathing his entire body within. Lu Tuo, Yao Yu, Shen Kuan and the others had previously directly entered the phoenix blood pool, borrowing the rich phoenix blood essence to refine themselves, and only then did they undergo rebirth. They were able to use much more than him. Fortunately, Shi Hao had carried out his own rebirth using long life elixir in Origin Ancient Mind, not having a gap pulled open between them. However, the effects of the cultivation this time were still tremendous, cultivating a second great Dao flower. Shi Hao felt like his own strength increased again. Soon after, he smiled again. He was being a bit too greedy. There was no need to feel disappointed that he didn't produce another creature in the great Dao flower at all. In reality, even though there was a blurry humanoid creature sitting in the great Dao flower, it didn't do anything in battle, unable to be controlled. You finished your seclusion? Wangxi appeared, standing outside the stone room. Sure Hao had previously restrained his aura. He pushed open the doors and asked with a smile, "When are we departing?" "Still need to wait," Wangxi said. Recently, Heavenly Deity Institution was preparing for this event, because they were entering Immortal battlefield after all. A single mistake might result in great losses, so they had to make ample preparations. In the recent few days, the experts in the academy all came out from their seclusion, all of them receiving news about this. All of the experts who felt their strength was exceptional were going to participate. Meanwhile, of the individuals who entered Heavenly Deity Institution, which one of them weren't the most powerful in their region? That was why many people went to sign up, most of them participating. Are they not scared they'll die inside? Sure Hao muttered. If they were killed inside, wouldn't Heavenly Deity Institution's losses be great? There should be appropriate measures in place, Wangxi said. She also told Sure Hao to consolidate his cultivation and be ready to depart at any time. I just came out of seclusion, so there's no need to continue remaining inside. These next few days will be perfect for fighting a few more friendly matches, he said rather excitedly. Friendly matches? Wangxi looked at him expressionlessly. Sure Hao's skin was extremely thick, remaining calm, putting on the experience of a great master as he departed in an unhurried manner. Soon after, Sulan and Xianxia began to complain, both feeling rather discontent. This fellow was extremely unreasonable in their eyes, really not giving others a good feeling. Asking where the divine medicine garden is, "What are you trying to do?" Sulan asked him, her expression clearly on guard. "There's no need to be so tense. I just wanted to stroll around and take a look, increase my experiences." Sure Hao put on a harmless look, speaking rather sincerely. Xianxia stared at him, not willing to tell him. He just felt that this fellow was bad news. He had just entered the institution, yet already extorted others out of their true phoenix blood. He was clearly about to stir up more trouble. The divine medicine garden has powerful great formations protecting it. Even if you walk close to it, you cannot see the medicines inside, Xianxia said. Then, there's no way inside? What a pity. Sure Hao shook his head, sounding like he was quite unwilling to give up like this. When Sulan and Xianxia heard this, dark lines covered their foreheads. Did this fella really want to go inside and steal medicines? He really was someone worth worrying about after all. Too good at stirring up trouble. Cough was just joking. Don't tell me you two thought I was serious, Sure Hao said. Was this a joke? It wasn't funny at all. The two of them rolled their eyes at him, no longer willing to pay him any more attention. Actually, I want to learn about a few things from you all, wishing to engage in friendly interaction and exchange of pointers with others. Sure Hao asked extremely humbly. The two of them were curious. This fella was changing for the better? Even if you want to interact with others, what does it have to do with us? Sulan asked. Of course it's to ask you two to show the way. Give me a list of names, telling me who in the academy still has phoenix blood, who is willing to engage in friendly matches against me. Sure Hao humbly consulted. Sulan and Xianxia were both speechless, and then they were furious. They really thought he had a change of heart, yet now he was taking the initiative to challenge others. It was obvious that this fella had a taste of success, now wanting to extort even more people out of their phoenix blood, going up to their doors. He wanted to make these two his accomplice, wishing to understand the situation in more detail. Hey, why aren't you two saying anything? Staying so quiet? Being so young yet without vigor is definitely not a good thing, Sure Hao said. The two of them almost choked on his words. They originally wanted to ignore him, but now they really were angered badly, strictly warning him not to provoke matters, to stop bringing Wangxi problems. It's not like I'm her follower, invited as a Dao friend, so I can do as I wish. Relax. I really do just want to exchange pointers in a friendly manner, Sure Hao said with thick skin. If you really do have pure intentions, then don't mention phoenix blood with others. The two of them directly scolded. Without some profit, How can one fully enjoy themselves? Life is the pursuit of bright bubbles. Only with goals can there be motivation and progress. Xianxia spoke cockily, turning things around and lecturing these two on reason instead. Really can't stand you. Either way, we refuse and won't help you. Just go find other people. That won't do. Xianxia shook his head. How about this, we can put aside the friendly matches for now. What was the name of that girl who was scheming against me called again? Qilin? Or was it Qilin? The woman Xianxia mentioned was precisely the one who called out, shouting that he crawled onto Wangxi's bed, ultimately stirring up such a great commotion. What are you looking for her for? She is Princess Yao Yu's bosom friend. A very good friend. You shouldn't act randomly. Sulan said, on alert. Don't worry about it. In fact, I can actually be considered Princess Yao Yu's bosom friend. So giving her female bosom friend a beating isn't that big of a deal. Xianxia boasted shamelessly. Why are you like this? Can you stop stirring up trouble? Princess Yao Yu is an exceptional fairy who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy from an immortal family imperial court. You should stop messing around. There's no need to touch Qilin. Sulan was a bit nervous now. I know how far to go. That girl's mouth is too big. If it wasn't because my strength was great enough, after being challenged day after day by others, wouldn't I have been killed? Xianxia said with discontent. Things are already in the past. Just let it go, Xianxia advised. How can that be? She slandered my reputation. So I have to defend my innocence, Xianxia declared righteously. Puchi. The two of them couldn't hold back anymore. Both of them so angry they laughed. What reputation do you have? The young miss didn't even display anger or look further into it. While you aren't willing to let it go, just take a look at yourself. After extorting so many people of their phoenix blood, you still have the nerve to talk about defending anything. The two ridiculed. Each matter is its own thing. That woman really did slander me, ruining my reputation. If anything really did happen between me and your young miss, then that's one thing. After speaking like that, then so be it, turn a blind eye and let bygones be bygones. However, there wasn't even enough time for anything to happen. Yet she already shouted like that. I can't just let this go like this. Too wronged. Xianxia said, expression deadly earnest. The two of them were stupefied. This fella was just too shameful. From his words, it sounded like he didn't feel wronged from what happened, but rather that nothing had happened yet. You? If the young miss heard your words, she would directly deal with your family. The two of them were furious, loudly berating. Me and her aren't from the same family, Xianxia said calmly. I've never met as unreasonable as person as you. Sulan was panting from anger. Xianxia didn't know what was good to say either. However, when faced with the criticism, Xianxia didn't seem to mind at all, instead changing his approach and saying in a meaningful and sincere manner, Qilin did slander Wangxi in the end. Your young miss didn't personally take action because it was inconvenient, but you too can't understand her intentions? Say, why do you think I want to take action? It is naturally because Wangxi wishes for me to do this. When the two of them heard this, they were both stunned. You should stop speaking nonsense, definitely putting on a glorious pretense, hiding your ulterior motives. Sulan wasn't convinced. This child is unteachable. Xianxia shook his head, saying, those who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy can be called exceptional geniuses. So how can those few individuals easily go to war? At this time, it will depend on you all to charge and break through enemy lines. Make it easier for your clan's young miss to take action. Only then will our side seem more reasonable, that we had no choice. The two of them looked at each other in dismay. Was this really the case? Lead the way. Bring me over so I can give that fairy a beating. You all will understand soon, Xianxia said. Sulan and Xianxia were stupefied. In the end, they agreed. Regardless, it was this fella who was taking the risk. If he really was captured, then he deserved it. Of course, Sulan and Xianxia still felt some worry. If this fella ended up starting a commotion, provoking Princess Yao Yu's rage, then things wouldn't be too good. This fella wouldn't truly have these types of thoughts, right? Along the way, the two of them were a bit skeptical, not having much faith in him. It was because no matter how they looked at it, this fella's way of doing things was a bit ridiculous. I think it's still better if we don't go, Su Lan said. We're already almost there, so don't get cold feet now. As Wang Shi's follower, you all should figure out her thoughts. Being scared of the slightest thing like this isn't good, Shi Hao said. The two of them shot him a look of disdain, always feeling like this fellow wasn't some good person. The more he showed this kind of kindness, the more he acted sincerely, the more they doubted him. We've arrived. This is it, right? Shi Hao said with a smile. Su Lan and Qian Nuo felt helpless, because they already arrived before a divine cliff, precisely Qi Lin's cave. This mountain was massive, releasing scarlet multicolored light. It was entirely bright red like cornelian. You two go and issue a challenge. Tell Qi Lin that we came to issue a challenge, Shi Hao said. Why do we have to go and challenge? I'm pretty sure we already said that you had to do things on your own, Su Lan said angrily. Chen Nuo looked at him. Don't tell me this fella really wanted to drag them with him into the water? Su Lan and Chen Nuo exchanged a look, not saying anything, and then turning around to leave. They felt like staying by his side was not safe at all. Of course, they didn't go too far, hiding in the distance to watch the situation. Shi Hao didn't stop them. He wandered about this sparkling red giant mountain. He discovered a cave, and then he walked forward, transmitting sound quite respectfully for a meeting. When Qi Lin appeared and saw that it was him, she was first stunned, and then she felt alarm, asking, "Do you need something? Young Miss Qi Lin, are you not going to invite me into your cave for a cup of tea?" Shi Hao said with a smile. Qi Lin was extremely alarmed, truly not daring to let Shi Hao in, fearing that he might shout out. Her actions previously were a good lesson to learn from. She definitely didn't want to have the same favor returned. This fella before her already had a bad reputation, so if she had some type of relationship with him, inviting him into her cave, even if nothing happened, it would be difficult to explain things. If you have anything to say, just say it here, Qi Lin said, raising her sharp chin, putting on a haughty appearance. This isn't a place for discussion, Shi Hao said while rubbing his hands. Your reputation is quite bad. I do not dare invite you into my cave. If you have something, then just say it quickly. Qi Lin raised her head as she spoke, not showing him any face. My bad reputation, wasn't it all granted by you? Shi Hao said. You? What are you trying to do? Qi Lin was on guard, feeling a bit worried. She then said, don't forget that you are only Wang Shi's follower, a servant, not an official disciple. You don't have the qualification to enter my cultivation ground. Since you aren't letting me enter your cave to plunder, I meant look around, then we'll just settle things outside, Shi Hao said with a dry cough. What? You want to enter my cave to rob me? Qi Lin widened her eyes, definitely not believing that he made a mistake just now. This fellow was too daring, actually carrying these types of thoughts. Just come, I will challenge you here, Shi Hao said, eyes becoming fierce. He muttered, in a bit, I'll enter the cave and move house. You really are daring. Do you even know what you are saying? Qi Lin shouted. Of course I know. Doesn't the academy encourage exchanging of pointers and challenges between disciples? I am just responding to their call, Shi Hao calmly said. Who do you think you are? Not even an official disciple. You don't have the qualifications. Qi Lin felt a bit lacking in confidence, because she had heard that this fellow wasn't ordinary at all. If someone who isn't even an official disciple can defeat you, how would you even have the shame to occupy this divine mountain? Hurry up and gift the cave to me already. Shi Hao pressed forward. He took action, his palm and fingers shining, lightning interweaving, forming purple-colored lightning spheres one after another. They were like stars, becoming more and more numerous, producing a miniature starry domain. Hong! Shi Hao struck out, the lightning seemingly forming the cosmos, profound and massive. Those stars were all produced from lightning, blasting towards that woman. Qi Lin was alarmed. The other person's random strike already brought about this type of frightening scene. If he cultivated immortal energy, there was no way she could compare to him. She quickly took action, directly activating immortal energy to protect herself and resist the lightning. Following a numb feeling, Qi-Lin moved sideways, her body greatly shaken, a trace of blood appearing at the corners of her lips. Do you know who I am? I am Princess Yao Yu's bosom friend. If you take action rudely, you will bring about a great disaster onto yourself, Qi-Lin said. At this stage, she was a bit fearful, worried that Hao would go crazy and take her life. Princess Yao Yu's best friend? Then do you know my identity? Right, you should understand that because you previously said that I am her man. Now, this man and bosom friend have come to settle things. You, stop acting randomly. Qi-Lin's expression changed. Qi, lightning shot out like rainbows, forming a starry stream, crashing down. The power became even greater. Even though Qi-Lin used immortal energy, there was still no way she was Hao's opponent. She was directly blasted until she spat out blood, suffering injuries that weren't light. Let's go to your cave. In the distance, Su Lan and Chen Nua were shocked, secretly sighing that his strength improved again, becoming more and more terrifying. What is he doing? Is he robbing her? Chen Nua was shocked. Too lowly, completely looting this place. Su Lan was stupefied. In fact, Hao even kindly invited the distant Su Lan and Chen Nua in the distance to come with him and eat roast meat. It was because he cooked Qi-Lin's mount, extremely savage, directly carrying out this outside of her cave. Do you know what you are doing? Princess Yao Yu will take full action against you, Qi-Lin threatened. Oh, is that so? Hurry and have her look for Wang Shi then, waited for her a long time already. I only came here to seize an advantage. Hao spoke extremely irresponsibly. Hey, what are you randomly spouting? My clan's young miss never intended to fight a decisive battle against Princess Yao Yu. Su Lan was angered to the extreme, rushing over. It seems like you don't understand. How can this type of thing be endured? My trip here was tacitly accepted by your young miss. The two fairies will inevitably have a full-on battle, Hao said seriously. Is what you said true? Su Lan was extremely doubtful. Of course it's true, but the battle might take place in Immortal Battlefield. It's not easy for Wang Shi to take action right now, so I'm helping her, Hao said. My phoenix blood, Qi-Lin cried out in alarm. Right now, Hao was not polite at all, searching through her body, including her bosom, groping all around, finding 4 bottles of phoenix blood. As Princess Yao Yu's bosom friend, you have good stuff as expected. Is there any more? Hao laughed loudly. None. Stop randomly touching, Qi-Lin screamed. Su Lan and Chen Nua both stopped, no longer saying anything, because they suddenly felt like this unreliable fella's way of doing things made them release a bit of pent-up resentment. It was precisely because Qi-Lin spoke randomly that led to a series of trouble. Now that she was being dealt with, it really did match what the two of them desired. Pong! Qi-Lin was thrown onto the ground, directly fainting. This was a female cultivator, a genius who cultivated one strand of immortal energy. Yet before Hao, she was completely powerless, thrown on the ground like a scarecrow. Let's go. Lead me to where Feng Xingtian and Lu Tuo reside. Hao called over to Su Lan and Chen Nua. Ah, what are you trying to do? After these two asked this, they felt their scalps becoming numb. Was this fella really recruited into the academy? It's nothing, just going over to take a look. Your young miss said that once we entered Immortal Battlefield, there'll be an all-out battle. I'm going to help her take a look at her enemies, sizing up that battle's result. Hao spoke calmly. All-out battle, this was the young miss attitude? They just felt like it was impossible, just this fella before them randomly making enemies. Let's go, take a look, Hao said. When they passed by Princess Yao Yu's pure land along the way, he only stopped briefly, not issuing a challenge. Lu Tuo and Feng Xingtian's caves were shrouded in mist and primal chaos, unable to see through from a single glance. What allowed Su Lan and Chen Nua to feel a bit more relieved was that this fellow wasn't arrogant enough to the point where he went to challenge those two great young supreme beings. When he arrived in front of their pure lands, he also just looked around a bit and then left. I heard that Yuan Qing brought over a descendant of his into the academy. This is clearly against the rules. Where is he? Bring me over to give him a look too. Shi Hao said, asking Su Lan and Chun Nuo if they knew anything about that person's circumstances. He is called Yuan Feng, a genius who cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy. It was just because of a few matters that he missed out on Heavenly Deity Institution's disciple selection, which was why his elder personally brought him over. Chen Nuo said, Hey, what is your intention? The ones you're provoking are all tough individuals. First Princess Yao Yu's bosom friend, then Lu Tuo, Feng Xingtian and others, now wanting to deal with Yuan Qing, a supreme being's descendant. Don't tell me you want to trigger the greatest chaotic battle. Su Lan was worried, feeling that the situation wasn't good. You're thinking too much. I just want to scout out the enemies in the young Miss place. Shi Hao said with a smile. You shouldn't speak nonsense, pushing everything onto the young miss. She definitely wouldn't act like this. This is just the final preparations for your own plans. Su Lan said. Soon after, they arrived at a mountain region. The peaks were jade green in color, immortal energy rising in spirals, as if they arrived in an immortal realm. Wu, this Tao Earth belongs to Yuan Feng, Shi Hao said. He then saw a youngster whose gaze was brilliant like a blazing sun, looking towards this direction. That was precisely Yuan Feng. He stared at Shi Hao, eyes like an exceptional sword. Wu, we ran into each other just like this, Shi Hao said to himself. Yuan Feng wore silver armor, standing there, looking in this direction. His spiritual awareness was sharp, sensing something. He watched Shi Hao intently, extremely imposing, gaze scorching, shining like suns. Su Lan and Chen Nuo thought that Shi Hao would definitely go over and challenge this person. But he unexpectedly turned around and left, not taking action. This isn't like you, Chen Nuo said, not understanding. He saw Shi Hao march over confidently, thinking that he was going to dish out great beatings. This fella has just entered the academy. Doesn't even have a single portion of phoenix blood. Wouldn't I just be wasting my time if I went to fight him? Shi Hao curled his lips. Su Lan and Chun Nuo were stunned, both of them staring at him blankly. The moment Shi Hao turned around, cold light flashed past. In reality, things definitely weren't as he described, because this person didn't come to issue a challenge. He came to kill. He only had this word in his mind. He had to give Yuan Qing a pleasant surprise, collect a bit of interest. It was precisely because he had to kill this person that he didn't take action now, not wishing to display too much enmity here. He was going to kill this person on the immortal battlefield. There were no longer any restrictions once they went there, no longer needing to worry about the elder's interference and punishment. Halt! A shout sounded from behind. Yuan Feng's expression was not kind as he spoke from behind, staring at Shi Hao's group of 3. Do you need something? Su Lan turned around. Are you all Fairy Wang Shi's followers? Yuan Feng stared at them. Even though it hadn't been long since he entered the academy, he received quite a bit of information. So what if we are? Su Lan said. Meanwhile, Shi Hao turned around, carrying a smiling expression as he looked at him. Heh, aren't you the one who likes contests with others? Why are you turning around to leave after coming to my place? Yuan Feng's eyes flickered with light as he spoke. Oh? You want to fight against me? Shi Hao asked. We can exchange pointers. It will just be like your rules, the loser has to offer up phoenix blood. Yuan Feng said. The corners of his lips tilted upwards, revealing a brilliant smile. Su Lan and Chen Nuo were both shocked. This person was extremely confident, coming straight for phoenix blood. He used the nice words exchanging pointers, but the goal was likely the same as Shi Hao's. Phoenix blood? I have 4 portions here. Do you have enough? Shi Hao calmly asked. He flashed the several crystals he took from Qi Lin's place. These crystals shining like blood diamonds, extremely eye-grabbing. The light beams in Yuan Feng's eyes were intense, burning with greater and greater desire as he stared at the phoenix blood. If I lose, I naturally have phoenix blood to give out, Shi Hao said. The crystals in his hands released divine crimson multicolored light. He looked at the male on the other side and said, If you want to fight against me, Then please show your phoenix blood as well. I don't have any right now, but I will have them soon. We can fight first, and if I lose, I will naturally give it to you afterwards. Yuan Feng said. His eyes stared intensely at the 4 pieces of sealed phoenix blood crystals in Shao's hands. If you don't have phoenix blood, then what will you use to gamble? Are you trying to steal from a wolf empty-handed? Shao immediately refused, not fighting against him. In reality, he really wanted to take action, only this was Heavenly Deity Institution. Defeating him like this might draw all types of alert, and he couldn't even kill the other party. He might as well just leave this for later. Shao continued again, about to leave this place. Slow down. Yuan Feng followed behind. He heard Shao's matters, knowing that he had quite a bit of phoenix blood, that a cultivator who hadn't cultivated immortal energy defeated a group of official disciples. Yuan Feng had just entered the institution, needing phoenix blood and other things. After finding out that this person had quite a bit on him, he naturally wished to fight against him and win over the true blood. Of course, he needed an excuse, or else recklessly stealing would trigger great problems. You are nothing more than Wang Shi's follower, not an official disciple, yet you wantonly show off, challenging official disciples. I cannot let this go. Have to teach you a lesson. Yuan Feng spoke, speaking self-righteously, his display extremely domineering. Hypocrite. Su Lan curled her lips. Even she could see that the other party just wanted an excuse. Why would you want to fight against me? Shao smiled, turning around to look at him. Official disciples cannot be humiliated because of you. I am going to prove for their sake that a follower cannot be allowed to run amok in the academy. Have to teach you a lesson. Yuan Feng said, becoming more and more self-righteous. Shao felt a bit helpless. This fella really knew how to get caught up, probably fooling even himself now. Forget it. I'm not in the mood to fight against you, Shao said, walking away again. Where do you think you are going? Yuan Feng released a shout, already rushing out to stop Shao, eyes carrying bits of darkness, as if they were a lonely and boundless abyss. Pa! The two exchanged blows, thunderous sounds rumbling. Shao didn't use all of his strength, holding back quite a bit. Dazzling brilliance erupted between the two. Chi! Yuan Feng released a scoff. Bone texts covered his body, using his 2 strands of immortal energy to suppress Shao. He coldly said, Nothing more than this? Why did I even bother thinking that you were strong? However, in this intense battle, Shao still withdrew, not being suppressed by him. This battle, if I win, are you going to fulfill the agreement? Hand over the phoenix blood? Yuan Feng said with a cold smile. Already said that you have to bring out the phoenix blood first. Otherwise, this battle doesn't count. Shao shook his head. Still trying to deny it. One needs to know how to accept defeat when gambling. Yuan Feng shouted. Ever since he saw Shao produce the crystals, he already decided he had to have them. However, as time went on, he still didn't succeed. Hong! Another great clash erupted. The two flew outwards. Shao brought Su Lan and Xianxia with him, turning around to leave. You aren't allowed to run. Leave behind the true blood. Yuan Feng became hostile. Now, there was no aloofness to speak of. Everything was developing in an uncontrollable manner. Who do you think you are? Not even putting up a stake in the gamble yourself, yet you want to win while offering up nothing. Su Lan couldn't take this anymore, speaking like this. Moreover, it's not like you even won. Xianxia also spoke up. Even though he disapproved of Shao in front of outsiders, he would still advance and retreat together. Shao didn't stop, supporting a streak of lightning and leaving, baiting Yuan Feng, making him regret he wasn't decisive enough just now. If he closed in quickly, he might have just succeeded. He ran. If he continued fighting, he would undoubtedly be defeated. Yuan Feng said to himself. He had powerful strength that he hadn't displayed yet, had sufficient confidence in himself. Then, a few people heard the news, taking the initiative to lend Yuan Feng phoenix blood, hoping that he could take action and challenge Shao. Someone with 2 strands of immortal energy, and at the peak, this was someone worth the attention of everyone. there were naturally those who wanted to rope Yuan Feng in. Unfortunately, right when he was about to issue the challenge, news were released from the academy that they could enter Immortal battlefield. This was a major event. The entire academy was shaken up, the elders and disciples all paying close attention. Of course, whether or not they were entering Immortal battlefield, it was completely voluntary, not something that is forced. That day, a loud clamoring could be heard in the academy. Many disciples were moving out. Is it finally about to start? Sure Hao opened his eyes. He stood up in Wang Shi's cave, eyes releasing brilliant divine light. Not far out, Wang Shi already got up, calm and unhurried. She wore a long dress that reached the ground, aloof and exceptional, her graceful figure sparkling. She waited for a long time, wanting to set out a long time ago. The same day, Lu Tuo released a great roar, expressing his will. He was definitely going to enter that ancient land. As for Feng Xingtian, Princess Yaoyu, Shen Kuan and the others, they all headed towards that ancient land without exception. Not a single one shrinking back. I heard that this time, if anyone puts on a brilliant display there, they might be granted an immortal jade book upon returning. Someone said softly, extremely excited. If one's display is brilliant in that battlefield, would they even need the Academy's gift? Rumor has it that there are quite a few secret texts that have been lost in inheritance and ancient immortal weapons, all priceless things. Before they even left, these people were already extremely excited, hoping that they could rise up and obtain great opportunities. Woo-woo! The battlefield's bugle horn sounded, as if urging everyone to set out. That day, a large boat waited in the academy, waiting for them to get on board. Then, it headed towards a distant ancient land. The giant golden ship moved through the sky. It was too massive, comparable to an enormous island. There were many people on deck, looking at the mountains, rivers, and all things. On the ship, Sure Hao discovered a few familiar people, for example, the witch Chao Yuxing, Chang Gongyan, Little Rabbit, Qin Yi, and others. They also chose to enter that ancient land. However, he couldn't immediately call out to them. This time, if he entered the ancient land, he might unleash a great slaughter. He didn't want to involve those he was close to. Stars flickered. The warship shone, as if it was going to speed ahead, entering a starry sea. What is that? We are almost at the destination. Is that the place where immortals fought before? An enormous storm was about to arrive. The night was indistinct and dreary. This was an expanse of ruined land. A cold moon suspended above. The earth bare, crushed stone everywhere. There were also bottomless cracks that seemed to lead into a black abyss. They reached their destination this quickly? Everyone on the ship was shocked, feeling like they hadn't flown for that long. Even though they had just flown through the void, crossing endless distance, it still shouldn't have been that fast. This isn't that ancient land. It's just the entrance. We need to take off through an altar here. An elder standing on the deck said. The golden warship shone in the night, glistening yellow. Not only was it brilliant, there was a type of warmth that was full of cold moonlight. In the depths of the ancient land were interweaving patterns, as if there were creatures absorbing sun and moon essence. These were formations. Normal people would inevitably become restricted after arriving here, unable to advance further. It was because these were damaged immortal Tao traces. How many people in the present world could forcefully break through? Fortunately, there were experts on the warship, elders from Heavenly Deity Institution here who grasped ancient methods. They knew the arrangement and secrets of these damaged formations, and so, under their personal guidance, the ship made it through this dangerous region, advancing forward. An altar could finally be seen, ancient and bleak, as if it was a large inscribed stele that recorded details of the past, having a type of great historic feeling. There was even more so a type of grim feeling of, even though the things remained, people have changed. These were remains of earlier people. The people of the present world could only try to trace things backwards and pay homage. Regardless of whether the past was glorious or shameful, it was gone forever. The entrance is right here, an elder said. The altar was extremely large, like a mountain, piled together from all types of rare, strange stones. mottled traces of great hardships engraved on its surface. It was extremely large, but when compared to the massive island-like golden warship, it was still much smaller. Only when the warship descended, everything changed. As if stars moved and time changed, everything in the world seemingly transforming. The warship shrunk, becoming like a grain of sand, landing on the altar. Everyone gasped. What kind of people was this altar created for? Where did it ultimately lead to? When such a massive ship landed on it, it still seemed as insignificant as a speck of dust. It really was hard to imagine just how frightening it was when it was fully activated. One of the 4 great ancient altars, same as the altar from the 3,000 Dao provinces that disappeared in Immortal Ancient's Black Abyss, similarly mysterious. Its greatest use can no longer be restored and activated, because everything is already damaged. An elder said. When Shihao heard this, he became inwardly alarmed. He thought back to the immortal ancient remains he had entered through the immortal Dao flower petals. How when he was testing things out and searching for natural luck, he had entered a black abyss. At that time, he saw a damaged altar, and even more so a 3-footed 2-eared round cauldron imprint with emperor blood on its surface, seemingly arriving from the future. After who knew just how much divine force was used, the great elders quickly becoming exhausted, the altar finally shone, releasing a bit of light. Of course, this was just some of the formation patterns, not the entire altar reviving. However, this was already enough. The great elders operated it, also offering sacrifices there, releasing several types of divine blood on the altar, and then set the coordinates. Wang. In that instant, the sky domain was pierced through. The golden warship moved through the sky, disappearing from this place. Immediately afterwards, the people on the ship were all alarmed. This speed was just too fast, the void distorting, rays of light blurry, everything changing shape. Then, the warship advanced, rushing into a special spatial tunnel, speeding ahead, exceeding extreme speed. However, this tunnel was extremely frail, half-transparent, and a bit indistinct. In a daze, they saw light swirl about, time becoming chaotic, as if they were crossing the great river of time. Are we crossing over to the other side of the cosmos? This was an unimaginable long-distance journey. They felt like they crossed over several hundred to 1,000 star systems, arriving at the other side of the universe. Everyone's expressions became pale. If they had to fly themselves, they still wouldn't be able to reach this place even when their lives reached their limit. This distance was too great, far to a ridiculous degree. If something unexpected happened to this warship along the way, causing it to become stranded along the way, they might lose their way, forever unable to find a path of return. That altar's ultimate use isn't this path? How was it originally used? This question appeared in some people's minds. They were only borrowing it a bit, yet it was already so ridiculous. Time flowed past, star systems moving into the distance one after another. They were still moving forward. At this moment, many people's expressions paled. This distance was a bit frightening. Finally, they seemed to have heard the roars of gods and devils that rushed through the half-transparent tunnel. That was an island that floated in the cosmos. In this desolate and mysterious sea of stars, there was actually this type of island. This is Immortal Battlefield. An elder said, this island floated there. Compared to the stars that filled the sky, it seemed rather inharmonious. In the gloominess, in the silence, it wasn't a meteorite, wasn't a starry stream, just an island, existing throughout time. They originally didn't think it was that large, but it wasn't like that at all. As they approached, the island gradually became larger, and it continuously released a repressing aura. They only felt like that because they were too far away before. Now, as they flew with great speed, they began to feel how vast it was. Perhaps it could be called a continent because it was just too large. After who knew how much time had passed, the golden warship approached the island, about to descend. But at this time it slowed down, as if it was entering the most terrifying place. Under pung-pung sounds, the entire warship shone, starting to burn. A few parts began to melt, no longer existing. This island had a repelling force. During this process, everyone heard great mournful cries, demon gods roaring from the endless space-time, sounding from the distant past. Pong! When they landed on the surface, the repelling force disappeared. Because their speed was too fast, they didn't see the island's overall landform. Of course, the main reason was still because the island was too large. This region didn't have plants, the earth a reddish-brown. There were many stone granules, desolate and bleak forever its main theme. There are creatures here. Someone cried out in alarm. They originally thought that this place was lifeless, but now, they discovered strange creatures as soon as they arrived. That one was like a mouse, its entire body covered in red fur, the size of a water buffalo. It rushed over with great speed, and then with a kong sound, it bit down on the golden warship. Dang! A sharp and clear metal sound was released. That red fur vicious beast's eyes revealed vicious light, sparks flying between its teeth. Everyone became stunned. This monster was too strong, right? One had to bear in mind that the golden warship wasn't a normal object, but something refined by several elders jointly. When it bit down on it, it unexpectedly wasn't blasted to death. Be careful. This place is quite strange. There are some places that suppress magical force. An elder reminded. What kind of thing is this ugly red fur beast? A disciple asked. You must not underestimate them. The elder on the side lightly scolded. He warned them seriously that as long as any living creatures appeared in this place, even if it was just an ant, they had to be extremely careful, cannot show any carelessness. Otherwise, they might die. Chi! Before waiting for the elders to take action, that red-furred monster turned into an expanse of scarlet multicolored light, thus disappearing, entering the earth. Everyone became shocked. The creatures here are mostly condensed from immortal Tao ominous energy. Once they are seriously injured, they might disappear forever. An elder warned seriously. Then, they got off the boat, standing on the ice-cold land. The elders distributed bone symbols one after another, but it was only limited to official disciples, having them keep it with them, that they couldn't lose it. These were life-saving symbols. Sure Hao was speechless. He didn't obtain one. Nothing more than a servant. Yuan Feng wasn't far out, saying this with a low voice, rather ear-stinging. His eyes even more so became a bit cold. Wang Shi walked towards the distance, communicating with the elders to obtain a bone symbol. In the end, she didn't succeed, told that the quantity was limited. Yuan Feng walked to the side, saying to himself, we must seek our own good fortune here. We better not meet, or else you'll see what happens. Sure Hao knew that these words were directed at him. Yuan Feng was trying to keep a low profile, trying to infuriate and provoke him. All of you can go and look around. This ancient battlefield is full of danger and the unknown. But there are tremendous opportunities as well. Who knows? You might discover an immortal Tao scripture. Or even pick up an immortal weapon. An elder explained, and after telling them a few things, they were allowed to go on their way. Wang Shi and Shi Hao's group walked forward together. The others also moved, each going their respective way. There were some with great speed, rushing towards the depths of the reddish-brown great earth. However, miserable cries sounded abruptly. Not far out, a genius follower had half his head bitten off by a red-furred monster. That scene was extremely miserable. Even half of the primordial spirit bitten off. He struggled, but it was futile. A moment later, his head and primordial spirit were completely eaten by the red-furred monster. Everyone became shocked. This was just the beginning, yet people were already dying at the edge of the island. Only heaven knew just how frightening and dangerous this place was. An elder took action, blasting apart that red-furred creature. Unfortunately, when it broke apart, it turned into scarlet multicolored light and mist, not having a flesh body. I will remind everyone once again that you all must be careful, especially when facing creatures with flesh and blood. Have to be even more careful. If you end up in those creatures' hands, you will wish you were dead rather than alive. This type of warning was extremely severe, making everyone's expressions change. Shi Hao remained calm. He was searching for a target. Apart from being on guard against those terrifying creatures, He also prepared to take action and kill his enemies. Starlight flickered about. The reddish-brown great earth was full of a somber and desolate feeling. This place was extremely dangerous, beyond everyone's imaginations. It was just the beginning, yet there were already those who lost their lives. Everyone shivered inwardly, not daring to act recklessly at all. All of them revealed serious expression, preparing to enter the depths of this great earth. Xi's clothes fluttered about, 3 strands of immortal energy surrounding her as her lotus-like figure moved. She treated this place seriously, looking like a fairy moving under the moonlight. Hao didn't stand too far away, also on guard, walking into the boundless battlefield. The others were like this as well. These official disciples' expression became serious, as if they were facing a great enemy. There were opportunities to be had, but also tremendous danger. Everyone spread out in a circular manner into the ice-cold remains. All of the official disciples brought their followers, protecting them at their sides. Comparatively speaking, Xi brought the fewest, only Hao alone. Even Lu Tuo, Xianxia, and the others had more than 5 or 6, all of them great experts. In the distance, a slim and graceful woman moved, surrounded by moonlight, spotless and pure, exceptional. This was precisely Princess Yao Yu. She gave Xi a faint smile and said, "Older sis, I heard that this is your Dao friend, and not a servant. Really is interesting. The two of you are walking together like Taoist immortal companions." Her words naturally drew attention. Even though they had all scattered, now quite far from each other, there were still some with great cultivations who had sharp ears, hearing these words clearly. Was this a type of provocation? They had just entered the battlefield, yet a dispute was already going to start. Heavenly Deity Institution's elders had hinted that battles were allowed here if appropriate, that they wouldn't investigate too deeply. This was also one of the reasons why the many official disciples treated this trip seriously. "Wu, your eyes are quite good. Able to tell from a single look," Hao said. Before Xi replied, he muttered smugly, considering himself to be a member of Taoist immortal companions. A few people became shocked. This fella really was good at boasting shamelessly, actually daring to speak like this. Wasn't he scared that Xi would become hostile and deal with him? Sure enough, Xi's expression became rigid. Her beautiful face snow-white and sparkling from the moonlight. Her eyes were like cold stars as they stared at him, a chilly aura spreading. "I'm just joking around." Hao spread his arms, hurriedly explaining. Princess Yao Yu laughed gently from the distance. She was beautiful beyond compare. Fine black hair fluttered about, looking incredibly bright and pure under the moonlight as she said, "Really must offer my congratulations for Dao friends. Jade couples moving together will definitely make many envious." While speaking, she glanced over at some others. Sure enough, many people revealed strange looks. What kind of person was Xi? She was a long-life family's pearl, an exceptional beauty. Being able to walk by her side was something too many people yearned for day and night. Xi young miss is intelligent and sacred, like a reincarnated immortal. I am nothing more than an ordinary person fortunate enough to be journeying together. Hao said, and then he looked towards Princess Yao Yu. Actually, I think young miss and myself might be more fated to walk together, an ideal combination of pearl and jade. There isn't a need to feel ashamed of inferiority. Unbridled. A young man beside Princess Yao Yu berated. Princess Yao Yu was stunned. This fella actually dared to speak to her like this. Was he trying to raise up Xi and demote her? They were originally equally famous, yet she was now lowered like this. After a moment of surprise, she then laughed and waved her hand, saying, "Since Dao friend believes this to be the case, then how about you abandon Xi and travel together with me? Then I must ask Fairy to first disband those irksome individuals at your side first," Hao said, targeting those individuals who were sneering and glaring angrily at him. When Princess Yao Yu's followers heard this, their bodies all surged with killing intent. Everyone became shocked. Was there going to be a great battle after they had just set off? This competition might greatly affect their rise or fall. If they won, not only would they obtain opportunities from the ancient battlefield, They would also obtain the Academy's approval and full support. If they lost, then many things would come to nothing. They had previously heard that for the sake of tempering the students, their methods wouldn't be too soft. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent them to such a dangerous place. There were always rumors that because it was going to be extremely cruel in the future, they might be forced to fight each other, leaving behind only the most powerful few individuals. Even though it was still early, there were already signs pointing in this direction. "Let's go," Wang said. She definitely wasn't going to fight Princess Yao Yu in front of so many people. Otherwise, it would definitely only benefit Lu Tuo, Shen Kuan, and the others. Princess Yao Yu laughed, her appearance sweet, not becoming angry at all. She waved towards Shi Hao, and then brought her people with her into the distance. Hong. Soon afterwards, the earth quaked and mountains shook. In the depths of this reddish-brown great earth, a cry of alarm sounded. It was as if a great flood was crashing down. What kind of sound was this? What exactly happened? Everyone was shocked. Finally approached. A red tide surged, beast figures everywhere, rushing towards this direction. Everyone's scalps went numb. This was just too frightening. That was a horde of red-furred beasts, filling the horizon, roaring as they charged murderously at them. Every single one of them were large like water buffaloes, looking like rats, bodies covered in red fur. They released mournful sounds, scarlet eyes wide open. They rushed over with extreme speed, the teeth in their large bloody mouths a deep white. How were they even supposed to fight this? Everyone felt their blood run cold. One had to bear in mind that this wasn't an ordinary vicious beast, but rather one produced by the battlefield's ominous energy, to the extent where there was no lack of immortal energy. This type of frightening ancient beast was the worst to provoke. "It's an illusion. There aren't that many of them. They can be withstood," someone shouted. If they backed off now, withdrawing towards the golden warship, the Academy elders' opinions of them would definitely plummet. If they couldn't even enter the depths of an ancient land, what rising up and contending for supremacy was there to speak of? A few people realized that even though these vicious beasts looked powerful, there weren't as many as they imagined. There were some that were only scarlet multicolored light and mists, not forming any tangible bodies. Honglong. Large amounts of lightning erupted. A green-haired individual who was handsome and tall released a Dao sound, the sound erupting like heavenly thunder, the first one to rush forward and attack. He was Lu Tuo, already taking action. Following a shout, several of the strange vicious beasts ahead were destroyed. He then entered like a tiger into a flock of sheep, unleashing a great slaughter, several followers behind him. It had to be said that Lu Tuo was too fierce. He was like a sharp blade as he rushed through the massive army, hacking apart in the battle, forging ahead courageously, none of the beasts able to stop him. The rat-like red-furred beast, despite being formed from terrifying ominous energy, couldn't stop him at all of them killed. He unleashed a great slaughter, his assault unstoppable. When the others saw this, their morale was greatly boosted. Under the lead of official disciples, they were all powerful like dragons as they charged murderously. Shouts of war shook the battlefield. Even though the red-furred beasts were vicious, pouring over like a flood, they still didn't scare everyone off. They fought intensely, charging forward. No one expected to run into the legendary, most terrifying beast tide immediately after entering the ancient land. Or, behind the red-furred beasts were a few giants. For example, golden monsters, blood-colored giants, and others, every one of them extremely sinister in appearance. "Woo, if we make it past this place, it should be more peaceful. Let's charge forward with full strength," Feng Xingtian said. He came from the Wind Clan, so he naturally knew many secrets, knowing what this signified. Everyone charged forward, fighting a bloody battle. An hour later, Shi Hao separated from Wang Shi. He slaughtered towards a group of old friends, fearing that something unexpected might happen to them. Hong. A golden tiger rushed over, 10 zhang in height, sent flying by Shi Hao's fist. It exploded in the air, turning into a blast of golden mist. Everyone here was shocked. This type of methods was only seen from Lu Tuo, Wang Shi, and the others, too vicious and domineering. One had to understand that the golden tiger carried immortal Tao ominous energy. It was difficult for even the formal disciples to deal with, yet he blasted them away with a single palm. Just how valiant was this? Thanks, Feng Wu said. It was because Hao came to help out the 3,000 provinces cultivators. They were a bit weaker comparatively. When the disciples were chosen previously, because there weren't many individuals who cultivated immortal energy in the 3,000 provinces, the requirements were lowered a bit. Feng Wu, Jinggu, and the others also entered immeasurable heaven. They didn't cultivate immortal energy, but they still had an important opportunity, which was that of the peak of heavenly deity level, to see whether or not they could carry out the ultimate transformation. Hao slaughtered his way into the distance again. He saw a few others from the 3,000 provinces. His 10 fingers were like rainbows, firing divine radiance streak after streak, killing those ancient beasts. Wu, the 3,000 Dao provinces people really are weak. Even from far away, he heard this voice, cold and full of disdain. He quickly slaughtered his way over. Yuan Feng cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy. Apart from Lu Tuo and the others, this was definitely a top-level person, having the qualifications to speak with arrogance. Only, in the ears of the 3,000 provinces cultivators, it was just too ear-piercing, injuring their pride. Wu, so lacking. No immortal energy yet can still come here. Truly a group of trash, he said extremely ruthlessly. Due to various reasons, his bloodline didn't have a good impression of the 3,000 Dao provinces people, both Yuanqing and him both like this. Otherwise, Yuanqing wouldn't have taken the initiative to suppress Hao for 10 years. If you all can't handle it, then just get lost. Don't get in my way. Yuan Feng spoke coldly, extremely ruthless, making the 3,000 provinces cultivators look extremely bad. Hao gave him a look. They weren't the old friends he was familiar with because those individuals were all quite strong. If they were here, it wouldn't be this bad. Who are you trying to humiliate? Blazing radiance surged around Hao's body as he walked over with large steps. He was like a war god, symbols surging like fiery light. I am speaking to those from the 3,000 Dao provinces. Did I end up poking a sore spot of yours? Yuan Feng laughed coldly. All trash, Yuan Feng's followers said. Saying their cultivation is inferior right now is one thing, but humiliating like this, if this is how we are doing things, then in my eyes you all are nothing more than trash as well. Hao said. A hong sound rang out. His fist smashed outwards, and then even the heavenly dome was collapsed. Pooh! Blood splashed out in large amounts. Yuan Feng's followers immediately exploded. Bloody light flashed, some of the blood landing on Yuan Feng's body, leaving him shocked, as if this was the first time he met Hao, staring at him with astonishment. Dragons streaked across the skies, irregular scenes brilliant and varied. Hao's fist blasted through the heavens, the divine symbols around him burning like flames, raging resplendently. This strike incredibly domineering. Yuan Feng's expression immediately changed. He quickly activated a magical artifact to protect himself. This was a spear that was overflowing with brilliant colors. It illuminated the heavens, making the void collapse with a single strike, the cracks extending out several li power extremely great. Dang! Hao's fist directly smashed down on the spear point, smashing together with the golden spear point. There was no blood that flowed, but rather blinding radiance that erupted. Under Kung Chong sounds, his fist smashed apart the golden spear point. Several hundred fragments shot out in all directions. In that instant, it was as if a meteor shower filled the skies, smashing down into the great earth, beautiful and astonishing. The scene was a bit too grand, filling the reddish-brown earth with holes. Pong! Immediately afterwards, the entire golden spear exploded. Not only the spear point but the long shaft also broke apart, this place extremely brilliant. Hao's iron-blooded fist possessed exceptional power, stirring up terrifying blood energy that spread outwards. The void trembled, leaving everyone in the surroundings in shock. Pooh! Yuan Feng coughed out a mouthful of blood. His arm contorted, feeling incomparable pain. Just now, the power that passed through the spear from that fist made his complexion pale. If he didn't have the golden spear, he might have died there and then. This was a secret treasure made from rare divine materials. Yet in the end, it couldn't even take a single hit from this person's fist, forcibly blasted apart. Yuan Feng was extremely decisive, quickly withdrawing. He was like a dark blue pung that spreads its wings, fierce and imposing, about to run. He knew that he couldn't fight this person head-on. If he stayed behind, he would undoubtedly die. The surrounding people were shocked. Yuan Feng's strength spoke for itself, yet in front of this person, he was shaken up until he coughed out blood, not daring to clash head-on, directly running. Who was this? They couldn't see clearly, because right now, Hao was surrounded by divine symbols, too brilliant. Golden flames blazed around his body. With him at the center, it was as if there was a huge ball of fire, divine flames overflowing into the heavens, raging flames boundless. No one able to see this humanoid figure's true appearance. Yuan Feng guessed at the truth because in that instant he saw those eyes. They were like the ones he saw that day in Heavenly Deity Institution. Calm, extremely confident, too easygoing. Moreover, there was a type of ridicule in those eyes, even more so contempt, not treating him like anything significant at all. Could it really be him? He trembled inwardly. How did he suddenly become so strong? This far exceeded his imagination. He ran quickly, but the pursuer was even faster, arriving in the blink of an eye. He could feel the berserkness of that fist as it roared over. This already wasn't just a simple fist, but rather like a tsunami. The noise shattered the skies, raging waves beating against the shore, smashing over. Before the fist arrived, that wave of heat, boundless fist winds already reached him, sending him flying, coughing blood out in large mouthfuls. This person was just too frightening. Yuan Feng simply didn't believe that just a servant could suppress someone with 2 strands of immortal energy so easily, that he wasn't the other party's match. Who exactly was he? He definitely had another identity, likely not much inferior to Lu Tuo or Wang Shi by much, right? He was shocked by this type of speculation. An expert mysteriously appeared, someone who was willing to keep a low profile and infiltrate Heavenly Deity Institution. He suspected that this person likely cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, or else there was no way he could be this powerful. However, those who could cultivate 3 strands of immortal energy were like phoenix feathers and unicorn horns, too rare. Where did this person jump out from? Why was it so abrupt? It had to be said that Yuan Feng's reactions were sharp, immediately thinking of a name, Huang. Could it be that cultivator from the 3,000 provinces? When he thought of this possibility, his entire body became ice cold, immediately becoming scared. That person had previously been banished to Origin Ancient Mine by his grandfather, leaving without coming back, rumored to be dead. An exceptionally powerful genius died an untimely death, unexpectedly falling. Yuan Feng broke out into a cold shiver, fine hairs standing on end, already coming to this conclusion. Did that person come back alive? He went cold from head to toe, finally knowing why this person came for him, wishing to powerfully suppress and kill him. This was a disaster created by his grandfather, and now he was here for revenge. Moreover, just now, he humiliated the cultivators of the 3,000 Dao provinces, looking down on them, perfectly seen now by this person, so he was likely going to settle both things at the same time. Who? The wind stirred by that fist sent him flying out like a leaf, large amounts of blood coughed out. Yuan Feng was greatly alarmed, wishing to run. He decisively shifted sideways, turning around. He opened his mouth, spitting out a speck of light towards Hao. That speck of light quickly enlarged, unexpectedly a tortoiseshell, snow-white like jade. It increased in size to several zhang in height, forming a shield to protect him, stop that fist wind. Suppress! He released a great shout. He had no other choice, had to use the most powerful precious artifact he had on him. This was a magical artifact with tremendous origins, material shocking, rumored to be a tortoiseshell fragment that came from a supreme being. As Yuan Qing's descendant, how could he not have good stuff? This wondrous object, if it was traded in the outside world, would trigger great bloody battles. When Shurhao saw this, he released a cold laugh. He produced the everlasting immortal sword, and then with a light stroke, the white tortoiseshell was blasted away. It made the cracks that were already on its surface shine, widening greater. Kacha! This noise sounded. Yuan Feng's expression changed. This was the fragment of a former supreme treasure. Even though its essence had flowed away, already damaged, it was definitely enough to stop cultivators at the heavenly deity level, impossible to blast through. Yet now, this type of thing happened. The other party clearly also had extremely heaven-defying things. Ka! Another loud and clear sound rang out. Shurhao held the sword core, piercing through the tortoiseshell, this place erupting with dazzling radiance. He slashed forward. Yuan Feng cried out loudly, greatly alarmed inside. This type of brilliant sword made him feel the threat of death. He couldn't stop it at all. Pooh! Before the sword made contact, the sword energy already swept over. He activated all of the precious techniques he grasped, producing large amounts of Dao symbols. However, bloody light flashed, his palm still pierced by the sword energy. When they faced each other again, Shurhao had already put away the everlasting immortal sword. So fast Yuan Feng couldn't even see what the sword looked like. Yuan Feng wanted to scream, ask others for assistance, but he discovered that apart from red-furred beasts, there weren't any other creatures. While running, he had long separated from the others. He was hoping that Lu Tuo and the others would be nearby, but he was disappointed. "Don't kill me," he cried out. "Give me a reason. I am Yuan Qing's youngest grandson." He screamed, his mind in complete chaos as he shouted out. It was because this was his greatest backing normally. However, immediately afterwards, it was as if thunder crashed down on his head, because he suddenly remembered that this person might be Huang, someone banished by his grandfather. "You can go on your way," Shurhao said, a fist smashing forward. "Save me!" Yuan Feng cried out loudly, doing everything he could to resist, screaming as he ran into the distance. There were people who came, but it was people from the 3,000 Dao provinces. Those people followed along, watching from the distance, wishing to see his fall. Hong! Shurhao's fist smashed out, the golden multicolored light and mists in front of his face scattering. He faced Yuan Feng. "It's you!" Yuan Feng's face became completely white. After enduring the power of this strike, his entire body trembled. His symbols blasted through, entire body surrounded by the fist's strength. Moreover, at this time he saw Shurhao's real appearance. His previous suspicions proved to be true. He had previously seen Huang's portrait. It was just like this. At the same time, he also saw his appearance change again, becoming Wang Shi's follower. "No, my grandfather will kill you." With despair imminent, he had no choice, could only release this trembling voice. Only, no matter how he expressed his fear, it was useless. His body split apart, because the radiance of a fist smashed into his body. Pooh! Yuan Feng's entire body exploded, turning into a rain of blood. Shurhao rushed past, blasting through everything with his fist. Golden symbols covered him densely, turning into divine flame-like radiance, surging and jumping around his body. In the distance, those who followed perfectly saw this scene. When they saw his rear figure, their bodies could only shiver, completely stupefied. War God! This was the feeling Shurhao's powerful rear figure gave them, blasting Yuan Feng apart with a single fist. Just how frightening was this? How could it not make their bodies tremble? And Shurhao was shocked. He saw a bone symbol that was currently quietly absorbing blood essence. Shurhao remembered that this was the life symbol Heavenly Deity Institution's elders gave the official disciples. Could it be that it really had great uses? He quickly rushed over, picking up the symbol. He unexpectedly discovered that Yuan Feng's primordial spirit was hiding inside, still not dying. After absorbing the blood essence, he might still be able to reconstruct his body. Gabbing! Shurhao directly crushed the symbol, the primordial spirit within erased as well. Otherwise, after absorbing enough blood essence, this symbol would escape, returning to Heavenly Deity Institution's elders, and then possibly be reborn. Yuan Feng died just like that, blown apart by Shihao. Too weak, Shihao stood there. He looked at the ruined bones on the reddish-brown earth, saying softly like this. There were some who saw this scene from the distance. When they approached and heard his words, they were all stupefied. Who was this person? Even Yuan Feng was too weak. How were others even supposed to live? One had to understand that Yuan Feng cultivated 2 strands of immortal energy, strength exceptional, dominating his area. Shihao's entire body was surrounded by symbols, not revealing his true body. He didn't wish to expose himself yet. However, he also didn't want Yuan Qing to have it easy either. As a result, he carved on the ground, leaving behind a line of blood, using Yuan Feng's blood to write the words. The general meaning was that Yuan Qing was without morals, colluding with others to send his own grandson into heavenly deity institution. But in the end Yuan Feng was so weak, unable to endure a single blow. Needless to say, if Yuan Qing learned of this, his hair will definitely stand up in anger, his mind full of resentment. Yuan Feng was the grandson he doted on the most, a child blessed by heaven, great expectations placed on him. He had soaked in all types of precious liquid since he was young to refine his divine body, his strength great. He used a secret method to assist this grandson, tempering his foundation, and then immortal energy was finally cultivated. This truly could be considered a grand occasion. There were still hopes placed on him to rise up above the 9 heavens. However, this person was killed so easily, blasted apart by a single fist. Many people saw this, witnessing this scene. News will definitely spread. If he found out, he will definitely feel shock and fury. The grandson he had exhausted so much to nurture couldn't even take a single fist from someone else. Just how lamentable was this? Even more so a type of humiliation. Of course, if he knew that it was Huang who personally did this, that this was the result of him wishing to suppress this youth for 10 years, ultimately banished to death, he would be even more angry. The day would come when truth came to light. If Yuan Qing learned about everything, he will definitely go insane. Shihao left. Soon after, many people came, seeing the paragraph written in blood, all of them extremely shocked. Yuan Qing Great One will definitely be furious. Even his most beloved grandson dying in battle, and now even having his actions exposed with such cutting remarks. I wonder how Yuan Qing Great One will feel when he learns of this. He brought his own grandson in with such thick skin, yet he was killed by someone after just a few days had passed. Everyone was discussing among themselves, some of them partial towards Yuan Qing, but of course there were those who sneered. Honglong. The great earth trembled, the swarm of red-furred beasts going mad as they attacked. The most frightening part was that there were still a few giant beasts behind them who were even more powerful, for example, golden ancient deities, 6-winged demonic birds, and others. Shihao blasted a golden ancient deity to death with a single fist. When he saw its 10-zhang tall body collapse, turning into ominous energy again, his brows frowned. Just how long would they have to continue fighting for? He slaughtered his way through the chaos, returning to Wang Shi's side. This place's atmosphere was unexpectedly extremely nervous. Wang Shi encountered Lu Tuo, confronting each other. Princess Yao Yu was standing against Shen Kuan. There were a few followers in their surroundings, all of them preparing to take action. Of course, there were even more red-furred beasts who threw themselves over, as well as other powerful deities and devil monsters. Your timing is good. There will be a fight soon. Pay attention to their followers' formation arrangement. Wang Shi transmitted sound. Shihao stood on a giant boulder, thus stopping, looking like he was ready to take action at any time. Regardless, right now he stood together with the Wang family's young miss. Right now, the battlefield was extremely nervous. Even though there was no great battle, it was still incredibly stifling. Currently, even those red-furred beasts stopped their attacks, intimidated by their powerful auras, every one of them releasing low roars, not daring to approach. Lu Tuo's hair scattered about. He stood there, just him alone, seemingly enough to suppress the 9 heavens 10 earths. His figure was refined as well, but the aura he released was terrifying. A formless domain spread out, making the great earth collapse, the heavenly dome warp, She was beautiful to a dreamlike degree, her perfect face carrying a serious expression. Her eyes were clear like autumn limpid waters as she stared at Lu Tuo on the other side. 3 strands of immortal energy appeared on Shi's body, forming flowers, blossoming and closing there. The scene was terrifying, heaven and earth trembling intensely. This left Hao shocked. Shi normally looked pure and aloof like an immortal, bright and otherworldly, untainted by vulgarity. Yet now, when she displayed might, she was this frightening. Meanwhile, on the other side, Princess Yao Yu and Shen Kuan were also like this. In their area, chaotic energy appeared, surging between the two, and then erupting and exploding. In the surroundings, the blood of red-furred beasts splashed out, completely dying. Kill! At this moment, a great battle erupted. Regardless of whether it was Lu Tuo and Shi, or Princess Yao Yu and Shen Kuan, they all moved. Lu Tuo was incomparably bold and powerful. When his foot trampled down, this ancient land known as an immortal battlefield, the sturdiest battlefield, also collapsed, large black cracks extending into the distance. He stepped outwards, stars moving and time flying, as if he was traveling between space-time, slaughtering his way forward. His target was Hao. When Lu Tuo arrived, the void directly exploded. The main reason was because his strength was too great, incomparable, like a ruler who was going to obliterate the world. Pang! Shi took action, blocking before Hao. Her hands formed imprints, a precious picture appearing in her hands, completely formed from magical imprints. Auspicious multicolored light surged, blasting towards Lu Tuo. A battle between 2 young supreme beings erupted. On the other side, Princess Yao Yu and Shen Kuan also started fighting. An extremely intense, life-and-death struggle. Great Dao flowers faded in and out of existence above their heads. Chaotic light spilling in all directions like sky-reaching sword energy. Haha! A laughter sounded not far away, a bit cold, also carrying a bit of amusement and ridicule. Lu Tuo's followers came, 6 of them in total. They directly rushed at Hao, revealing strong killing intent. Kill! One of them shouted. His arms moved, spreading like great pung wings, bringing him through the air. Blinding radiance was released, throwing himself at Hao. Hao was shocked. This person was a follower, but unexpectedly had a strand of immortal energy. There was also a great Dao flower above his head that blazed brilliantly. At the same time, the other 5 produced formation banners and other things, wishing to trap Hao. Hong! Hao's speed was extremely fast, using the earth to inch great divine ability, avoiding the formations and facing the main attacker. When he was about to approach, he was a bit startled. These individuals' formations were quite strange, possessing great power, definitely something Lu Tuo granted them. It was a wondrous formation. Others might have been defeated one after another after you challenged them, but I do not fear you. Just accept death. The one attacking at the front shouted loudly, laughing coldly endlessly. Hong! Hao activated a strand of immortal energy, condensing it with his fist, immediately destroying their formation. The formation couldn't close. Hao was like an illusory devil as he warped and weaved about, destroying their formation banners. Kill! At the same time, Hao released a loud shout, right fist pervaded with immortal mists, erupting with the most brilliant radiance, blasting towards the main attacker. A light PU sounded. That person flew outwards, blasted until he was badly mangled, blood flying everywhere, exploding on the spot into a bloody paste. It was a one-hit kill, killing that person. Hong! Lu Tuo released a cold snort, as if thunder crashed down on this place, even space-shattering. He used Dao sound, wishing to blast Hao to death. In the time it took for sparks to fly, Hao contemplated whether he should feign injuries, wait for a chance to defeat Lu Tuo in one strike, or if he should face it head-on. Shi also released a Dao sound, extremely soft and gentle, immediately erasing Lu Tuo's Dao sound. In addition, she moved her body to stop Lu Tuo's path, not allowing him to kill Hao. You should withdraw first, do not approach out battlefield. Wang Shi transmitted sound. She didn't wish for sure how to die for no reason, because even if he had 2 strands of immortal energy, strength exceptional, it would still be too difficult for him to stop Lu Tuo. Unless one cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, there was not even a chance of trading blows with Lu Tuo, only be instantly killed. In her opinion, the fact that Sure Hao could cultivate 2 strands of immortal energy was already not easy, worth her doing many things for him. She couldn't let him die just like this. Sure Hao silently withdrew, waiting for a chance. In the distance, Princess Yao Yu and Xian Kuan fought intensely, the battle reaching its climax. The two fought a life and death struggle, precious techniques moving the 9 heavens, shattering the sky, too terrifying. They turned into 2 streaks of light that tangled together, warping and weaving about as they attacked each other. Hong! Weren't these 2 fighting a life and death battle? They tangled about, rushing over with extreme speed, charging towards this battlefield, using the most powerful methods to attack this place. Sure Hao was stunned. Weren't these 2 fighting with their lives on the line? They actually suddenly joined hands, rushing at Lu Tuo and Wang Shi. Something's wrong. There are 3 of them secretly joining up, wishing to get rid of one of them. Who is going to fall? Light flashed past Sure Hao's eyes, never expecting the situation to develop like this. Who exactly were they rushing at? Sure Hao stood in the distance, the divine light in his eyes reserved, not exposing his own terrifying power, calmly watching. This was all too fast, 2 great experts attacking over. Princess Yao Yu's style was unmatched, clothes fluttering about as she descended from the sky, as if the lunar goddess descended into the world of mortals. Her white hand moved up, and then pure white divine light surged, so blinding others couldn't open their eyes. Xian Kuan released a roar, head of long hair flying about. His hands formed imprints, descending with the power of Mount Tai, striking this place until the sky collapsed. Hong! This place exploded, surging power poured down, attacking at someone who was currently fighting. Wang Shi is in danger, Sure Hao said to himself. He believed that these 2 were rushing at Wang Shi. After all, Princess Yao Yu stood against Wang Shi. The 2 of them came from different long-life families, competing against each other the entire time. However, the results were different from what he had anticipated. Moreover, Wang Shi also moved, displaying a type of ancient heavenly art she grasped to attack Lu Tuo, valiant and powerful, aura dominating. This was a shocking change. 3 great experts attacked, using their most powerful methods to attack Lu Tuo at the same time, putting him in a dangerous situation. Sure Hao's expression changed. He never would have expected that Princess Yao Yu and Wang Shi would put away their own differences, no longer standing against each other and joining up with the other party. It was clear that this wasn't something that happened abruptly, but rather something planned by Princess Yao Yu, Xian Kuan, and Wang Shi a long time ago, an agreement made beforehand. This was a fatal blow. This really made him sigh inwardly, even opponents and rivals able to walk together to deal with Lu Tuo. This already proved how unordinary they were. This wasn't something normal people could do. Dong! Thunder continuously erupted in the void, and there was even more true dragon and heavenly phoenixes flying about, as well as Qilin roaring. Precious techniques were being displayed, heavenly arts emerging. This type of scene was too astonishing. The heavens began to split apart, the entire world trembling. This was a battle between young supreme beings. That place was surrounded by chaotic energy, all types of precious techniques dancing about, heavenly arts displaying their unmatched power, absolutely terrifying. That place was hazy and indistinct. Only when immortal energy burned and released dazzling radiance could others see anything. Immortal light rushed into the heavens, splitting heaven and earth. Pooh! Under this ambush, Lu Tuo spat out a large mouthful of blood. Finally injured, soon after receiving serious damage, he flew out from the fight, falling in the distance. Great one! His followers cried out, wishing to provide assistance. In the distance, there were many people who saw this, all of them speechless, because they had been watching this great battle this entire time. They didn't expect this kind of result. Young Miss Wang Shi, Princess Yao Yu, and Yuan Kuan actually had plans beforehand. They are going to eliminate Lu Tuo. Everyone sighed. The young and powerful Lu Tuo was so dazzling and stunning. Was he going to die? This battle proved his strength, or else the others wouldn't have had to show such restraining fear, deciding to take him out first. Kill! The other three chased after him, taking action at the same time, using unmatched ancient heavenly arts to suppress this powerful male who was trying to run. Lu Tuo roared, his voice like thunder, blasting away many of the surrounding red-furred beast. His figure turned into a streak of flowing light, rushing towards the horizon, wishing to leave this battlefield. In the distance, there were quite a few spectators who were blasted by that roar until their bodies staggered back and forth, some of them vomiting blood. Lu Tuo was as fast as lightning, leaving behind a string of afterimages, about to disappear. Only Wang Shi, Shen Kuan, and Princess Yao Yu. Not a single one of them were weak, all young supreme beings who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, the most powerful creatures of this generation. They followed behind, difficult to throw off. Moreover, they activated unmatched great methods again, starting to attack. Ancient heavenly arts were displayed, heaven and earth splitting apart. Even though Lu Tuo was running, he also attacked in defense, or else he would suffer too greatly. He didn't pull open enough distance, still being surrounded by the others. Hong! This was a great collision. Symbols raged, bone texts erupting, incomparably brilliant. Lu Tuo roared angrily, his injuries becoming even more serious. Blood continuously flowed out from the corners of his mouth, landing on the ground. This was not only something he had never foresaw, it was something no one else anticipated either. The 3 great youths actually attacked him together, teaming up, this result extremely shocking. Pooh! Blood was spat out again. Lu Tuo immediately had 9 lives taken from him, expression now greatly dispirited. This fight for his life was just too horrifying, but in the end he still retained his life. Many of the bones in his body were fractured, his vitality greatly injured, unable to powerfully compete. The only fortunate thing was that he successfully fled in the end. His blood essence was ignited, activating his own heavenly art, vanishing from this place, disappearing. These people's followers naturally couldn't keep up. Apart from Sure Hao, they were all left behind. Those who could see the scene were all people passing through this place, as well as the people who were in this area to begin with. Otherwise, they wouldn't have caught sight of those powerful experts' figures either. Sure Hao followed along, quietly watching from the distance, not taking action. At the final critical moment, he felt an urge to chase after the heavily injured Lu Tuo, but he held himself back in the end. Kacha! A terrifying streak of lightning erupted in the void, then dragon cries and tiger roars sounded. There were even more types of immortal figures and immortal light that emerged. This really was bad. There was someone who was waiting precisely for this opportunity. Princess Yao Yu was exceptionally stunning, moving together with Shen Kuan, suddenly attacking Wang Shi, breaking out into a great battle. Things happened suddenly, more plotting now carried out. It was because Princess Yao Yu and Wang Shi were rivals in the end, always competing. They always opposed each other with equal harshness, even though they had just briefly worked together. Hong Long. Noises sounded incessantly. Wang Shi fought back, fighting a great battle against them. During this process, they originally didn't want to be watched by everyone, but now that it was so noisy, it was most likely too difficult to cover up. They didn't want to have to compete with her over this place's opportunities too. Chi! A streak of divine light shone, flying through the sky, blasting through all types of precious technique symbols. Another battle between giants erupted. The 3 individuals' heavenly arts appeared again. Pooh! Blood flowed out from the corners of Wang Shi's mouth. Fighting 2 great experts by herself definitely wouldn't end well for her. She had to escape. Only those 2 were too powerful. As she attacked, she also experienced Lu Tuo's previous disaster. She was ambushed, suffering serious injuries. Shua! Wang Shi was worthy of being a long-life family's heavenly lady of a generation. Under Princess Yao Yu's myriad of attacks, she could still run out, disappear from this place. Go! When she approached Sure Hao, She released an expanse of mysterious light, wrapping around him and bringing him with her. Need help? I can take action in your place. Shihao said. You aren't their opponent. There's no need to take risks. Wang Shi said. After running a set distance, she stopped, quickly sitting down and taking a divine pill, entering meditation on the spot to treat her injuries and recover her vitality. Shihao didn't move, only standing there to offer protection. Soon after, Wang Shi opened her eyes. After suffering attacks from individuals with 3 strands of immortal energy, there was no way her injuries would heal that quickly. However, she had no choice but to stand up. Otherwise, they might be caught up to. They proceeded in a direction, unexpectedly going where Lu Tuo ran to. Wang Shi didn't wipe off the blood on her body, so it was clear that she had just experienced a great battle, now hurriedly running. Lu Tuo. Shihao narrowed his eyes. He saw a figure blocking the way. His green hair flew about, entire body terrifying like a mountain peak. Wang Shi stopped, looking forward, not taking action. A moment later, she said calmly, we have to fight our way back, injure those 2 as well. Otherwise, with both of our vitality greatly injured, we'll be treated as wounded prey and easily end up on the defensive. Lu Tuo nodded after a moment of silence, returning with her. It was hard to imagine that just now, Wang Shi had participated in the joint assault against Lu Tuo, yet after just a short period of time, they walked together again, unexpectedly teaming up together to face an enemy. The main reason was because those who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy were too frightening. Lu Tuo and Wang Shi were both injured, the damage to their vitality severe. If they were attacked by similarly powerful people during this process, they might be in great danger. For the sake of survival, the 2 unexpectedly temporarily joined hands. Soon afterwards, Wang Shi and Lu Tuo hid themselves, quietly waiting for an opportunity. Finally, Princess Yao Yu and Shen Kuan appeared. After their decisive victory, if they found Lu Tuo and Wang Shi again, then that would be even more perfect. Hong! A great quake happened, heaven and earth rumbling. Wang Shi and Lu Tuo's ambush bore fruit. Shen Kuan suffered a mysterious palm and finger, his flesh badly mangled, collapsing on the spot, tossed about by the simultaneous attacks. The changes happened too quickly. Shen Kuan staggered about, entire body covered in blood, mouth and blood bright red, blood flowing out continuously. However, he was not an ordinary person, not dying, sticking it through. Dao brother, persevere through. The 2 of us do not need to fear them, Princess Yao Yu said. However, Shen Kuan gave her a deep look, and then decisively ran. It was clear that Shen Kuan was already wounded, so he naturally didn't dare stand together with the peak state Princess Yao Yu. It was best if she also ended up like this. It was because the struggle between them was too intense. If one of them was still perfectly fine, if they chased after an injured person, that would definitely not be good for the latter. Princess Yao Yu turned around to run. Who would have expected things to develop like this? It really was quite the surprise. Pang! Following Wang Shi and Lu Tuo's crazy attacks, Princess Yao Yu fled while struggling to find a way to escape, but was still injured, blood flowing out from her mouth and nose. Shihao was stupefied. The 4 individuals were all injured. The so-called previous alliance was just too weak. Moreover, with the 4 individuals all having different intentions, it ultimately produced this type of scene. The battle thus stopped, no one fighting bloodily to the end. Shihao said to himself, should I take action? When my Dao flower blooms, will 100 flowers wither? Princess Yao Yu was escaping towards the distance, snow-white dress becoming bright red, the color coming from her own true blood. Moonlight surrounded her body, her pure white ivory body trembling slightly, injuries extremely serious. Shua! From the rear, Lu Tuo and Wang Shi also quickly separated, not further pursuing Yao Yu. Meanwhile, the 2 also ran in different directions. This battle concluded just like that, truly unexpected. The 4 young supreme beings were injured, moreover also seriously, all of them feeling apprehension towards the others, not daring to continue fighting. They all chose to retreat. Shihao's eyes were deep, light flickering about. He was contemplating who to kill. In that instant, he made his decision, deciding to go kill Lu Tua. However, he had only begun to move when a terrifying fluctuation transmitted from the horizon, boundless and immeasurable, as if a sea of stars were falling into this world, smashing into the great earth. One could see that the reddish-brown great earth was rumbling, continuously splitting apart. A powerful divine will swept out, engulfing the mountains and rivers, all things moving, the scenery astonishing, many mountain peaks splitting apart. Xianxia was shocked, coming to a stop. Who was that? The mysterious aura was actually this terrifying, too shocking. Who could fight against that? How were they supposed to resist? He hid behind a giant rock, not moving, calmly observing the situation. Silently, a figure appeared on the tallest giant mountain. That area was extremely indistinct under the dusky lightning. The shadow was heroic, figure tall and straight, releasing a stifling pressure. Xianxia didn't dare use his heavenly eyes out of fear of drawing attention. This person's aura was too frightening, as if a turn of his hands could strike down the sun, moon, and stars. This was a headless corpse. Xianxia was shocked. Even though he didn't use his heavenly eyes, he still saw clearly that this person didn't have a head. His back was turned to this direction, neck bloody, as if its head wasn't severed too long ago. Those battle clothes, the ruined armor, everything was saying that he was someone from the ancient times. It most likely lost its head many years ago. His body carries an ancient aura. Even that scarlet blood is like this. Xianxia was startled by his own conclusion. Was this headless creature still alive? His movements didn't seem to be affected at all. He was like a paramount battle immortal. His skin suffused with remaining immortal energy, even more a type of terrifying demonic nature. As he stood there alone, it was as if he could cut down the 9 heavens 10 earths. Suddenly, he disappeared. However, this place immediately collapsed. Following a honglong sound, many mountain peaks exploded. Countless large black cracks split on the surface, extending for who knew how many li. Xianxia saw his indistinct rear figure rush towards the golden warship they came on. The ground was a mess. The red-furred beasts nearby and other vicious creatures all disintegrating under that violent fluctuation, bodies and spirits erased, no longer existing. This type of strength was too frightening, making one shiver inwardly. Fortunately, the others weren't here. Otherwise, the losses would be tragic. Only now did Xianxia get up. He discovered Wang Shi several li away, currently gesturing towards him. Turns out she didn't leave either, hiding in the dark. At this time, her injuries became even worse, because the sudden fluctuations just now had affected her quite a bit. She was hiding right beneath the peak that headless corpse was standing on. What is that thing? Xianxia asked. He believed that Wang Shi, who came from a long-life family, definitely knew much more than him. Someone who previously died in this battlefield. After having been beheaded, the body still possesses vigor. After being buried in places with divine medicine, it continued to exist until now. Wang Shi explained. She knew after all. Based on what she said, that thing developed intelligence, now able to leave the divine medicine area. Because of some of the power that remained in its flesh until now, it was still extremely terrifying. Xianxia was extremely shocked. The headless creature just now could be said to be extremely terrifying, his strength unimaginable. Meanwhile, this was just some leftover strength of the past? Don't forget what kind of place this is, immortal battlefield. Those who could participate in this battle all exceed sect master level. Impossible to measure, even immortal kings and others included among these. Wang Shi rolled her eyes at him. How is your condition? Need me to carry you? Xianxia spread his arms. Wang Shi glared at him. Was this person really stupid, or was he faking, looking deadly earnest, speaking so casually and normally? Even if I am injured, there is still no need for you to butt in. Even if you were trying to help me, it should still be on the back. Right? Wang Shi said. Then I'll carry you on my back. Xianxia said. No need. Wang Shi wiped off the trace of blood from the corners of her lips. Even though her complexion was a bit pale, her exceptional style wasn't diminished. Still an exceptional fairy no matter how one looked at her. making many holy children feel ashamed of their inferiority. Only, after she walked a set distance, she couldn't support herself anymore, body staggering a bit. When the four great young experts clashed, it could be said that all four were defeated, all of their foundations injured. If it was an ordinary person, they would have died. Injuries from ancient heavenly arts were great Tao injuries, extremely difficult to recover from. Fortunately, none of them were ordinary. They cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, which was why they could continue living, able to recover after some time. Of course, the reason why Xi's injuries were mainly still was because of that headless creature. He trampled the great peak with a single stamp of his feet, making the surrounding great earth explode. At that time, Xi was at the base of the mountain, too close, which was why she suffered so greatly. Hao moved beside her, seemingly oblivious to these changes, not offering support. Xi coughed out a bit of blood, extremely discontent. She turned around, giving him a look, saying, "Why are you so oblivious? Didn't you say you don't need my help?" Hao said, speaking while supporting her, asking, "Seeing how weak you are now, the other 3 are not much better. If I bring you to kill them, it should be quite easy, right? Forget it, after cultivating 3 strands of immortal energy and producing great Tao flowers. Their fighting strength will undergo a fundamental change. You are far from being their opponent." She shook her head. Hao curled his lips. He wasn't worried at all. Even though he didn't reach the heavenly deity realm yet, he already cultivated 2 great Tao flowers, so he had confidence in taking action. Tao to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to all things. When 3 flowers gather at the crown, it will be far greater than your imaginations, greater than people who have 2 Tao flowers. You should not be too self-confident. She said. Hao didn't continue arguing, changing the topic and saying, "Just now, that headless creature headed towards our worship. Nothing bad will happen as a result, right? Will those elders be able to hold on?" The Academy's number 2 expert came, and with the 9 Phoenix Furnace, there is definitely no problem. Heavenly Deity Institution is far more powerful than your imagination, built by a group of ancient existences hidden within the 9 heavens 10 earths, deep and immeasurable. She said. "Then that's good. Our path of return won't be cut off then." Hao nodded. After walking for a bit, she couldn't really hold on anymore. She took another divine pill but was still extremely weak. The main reason was because her foundation was wounded, receiving great Tao injuries. "Need my back?" Hao asked. When Shi heard this, she first gave him a look, and then her palm shone, producing a carriage that released 7-colored flowing light. They got on the war chariot together. Hao was in charge of operating it. Even though there were no divine beasts pulling it, they could still move through the air, speed extremely fast. "This carriage exhausts too much divine force," Hao grumbled. "If you try anything else with me, I'll chant an incantation to shrink the diamond band on your head. Tighten your primordial spirit." Shi's beautiful eyes blinked as she spoke gently. "Young miss, you're thinking too much. I just don't want to waste too much divine force. Do you think I want to carry you on my back?" Hao said. Finally, they left this place. Meanwhile, the beast tide also scattered at this time, the red-furred beasts becoming fewer. They descended in a quiet place. Based on Shi's suspicions, there was definitely a precious land nearby with divine medicines planted, that headless corpse's place of residence. There might even be immortal Tao inheritances. They prepared to look around, to unearth the secret land covered in dust. The headless creature could exist all this time, flesh possessing vitality, so based on her speculations, there was definitely a place with divine medicines. The 2 were hoping to discover an immortal cave that hadn't been investigated yet. If that was the case, then their harvest would be too great. "You treat your own injuries, I'm gonna look around for that ancient land. If I encounter Lu Tua, Shen Kuan or the others, I'll conveniently get rid of them along the way," Hao said. "Can you be a bit more humble?" Shi rolled her eyes. "I am the most humble person, always speaking the truth. Why don't you believe me?" Hao put on a sincere look. "Since you have such great skill, then kill Yao Yu for me." It was clear that Wang Shi felt great resentment towards Yao Yu. It was because in the joint attack not long ago, Yao Yu released the most vicious attacks against her. Over half of her Dao injuries created by Yao Yu's ancient heavenly art. "Oh, then I'll just catch her to warm the bed," Shi Hao said. "Get out of my sight. Don't speak nonsense here and disturb my peace." Wang Shi didn't want to say anything else to him out of fear of having her ears dirted. She felt like this fella was becoming more and more unreliable. Shua! Shi Hao disappeared. He moved about in this ancient region in search of the divine medicine's secret land, at the same time searching for Yao Yu, Lu Tuo, and others. He rushed forward like the wind, shooting through the sky like a streak of lightning. Shi Hao's speed was too fast. He moved through this reddish-brown great earth, not restraining his powerful divine senses at all. He was searching for divine medicines, but of course, if there really were immortal caves, then that would be even better, achieving the greatest objective of this journey. Wasn't the reason they came to Immortal Battlefield precisely for Dao books, immortal artifacts? If he wanted to obtain any of this, then it'll definitely come from those caves sealed until now. The red-furred beasts withdrew. Peace restored to the mountain region. There was only wind whistling past, a desolate woo-woo murmuring sounding in this place. Shi Hao left behind streak after streak of afterimages. He didn't hold back, fully displaying his divine abilities and cultivation to move quickly. He already examined this entire region, but didn't discover anything. Be careful, even though those people are all injured, they are still formidable. We can't disturb them. Suddenly, Shi Hao heard voices. There were people approaching him. Those were a few extremely powerful individuals, roaming about like ghosts on this earth, just like him, searching for something. It was clear to see that news of Lu Tuo, Wang Shi, Yao Yu, and Shen Kuan's great battles had spread out, stirring up some thoughts. There were terrifying individuals who came. Who was this person? After learning of Wang Shi, Lu Tuo, and the others' competition actually still dared to come explore? There definitely weren't many people like this, the number countable. Shi Hao followed behind them, secretly observing for a bit. He was then quite shocked. The bone mirrors and other things in their hands were quite unordinary, actually able to explore underground. They were looking for an underground secret treasury. Woo, I wonder if Master will kill the young supreme beings who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy. If that happens, it will definitely affect many things. Someone said softly. When Shi Hao heard this, his expression couldn't help but change. There was a terrifying figure who came after all, from the look of things already moving out alone to kill competitors. In Immortal Battlefield, those who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy were all competitors who were thinking of ways to defeat the other party. From this received the Academy's full support. At that time, they might even get true dragon blood, and all of it will be used on those few individuals. Shi Hao looked about nearby, not discovering these people's master. He quickly returned. If that fella encountered Wang Shi, things might turn out very bad for her. Wang Shi's injuries were more serious than the other 3's. If she encountered someone who cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy, she would definitely not be a match. When Shi Hao returned, the mountain region was quiet. Wang Shi disappeared, her whereabouts unknown. Not good. He frowned. Did that person really come and capture Wang Shi? Or did they kill her? There was no corpse or bloodstains. Things worth rejoicing over. Shi Hao released his divine senses, carefully searching through this region. I am here. Suddenly, he heard a message, and then he saw a pale-faced Wang Shi stand up from behind a giant boulder. Shi Hao rushed over, carefully examining her. She didn't fight an intense battle against anyone. Someone came just now, but fortunately, I hid in time. That was an extremely terrifying individual. Wang Shi said, even now feeling some lingering fear. It was because that person was too powerful, definitely cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy. Darkness surrounded him as soon as he appeared, as if he was a king of sovereigns. Wang Shi had a secret treasure from her clan that allowed her to restrain all aura. Even though that darkness covered the mountain land, it still couldn't find her, unable to discover her existence. Is it the Wind Clan? Shi Hao asked. After following those people for a bit, He began to suspect that the so-called master might be Feng Xingtian. It is him. I never expected Feng Clan's young supreme being to not only cultivate his own family's inheritance to an astonishing level. He even ended up obtaining a type of ancient darkness heavenly art. Wang, she said. She had previously heard that Feng Xingtian was someone with great luck, receiving the protection of heaven, obtaining various types of opportunities. He had even discovered an ancient historical remain, obtaining a type of heavenly art partial towards darkness. Hey! Remove the diamond band on my head. Sure how pointed at the band on his head. He didn't think this thing could restrict him, nor could it injure him. However, it was too hard for him to take it off himself unless he cut it apart with the everlasting immortal sword. However, he feared that this artifact would self-destruct, thus injuring his primordial spirit. What are you trying to do? Wang Shi asked. There are people that need to die, but this diamond band is too conspicuous. Even with my long hair covering it, if someone looks carefully, they will still be able to see some clues, Sure Hao said. Wang Shi hesitated a bit, but she still helped him remove the diamond band. Don't act recklessly. Don't worry. If I can encounter Lu Tuo or Feng Xingtian, if there is a chance, I will definitely kill them in your place, Sure Hao said. Then he asked if she would be safe here alone. You don't have to worry. I have a secret treasure here that can withdraw all of my aura. You don't need to think about me. Wang Shi said directly. In her opinion, keeping this unreliable fella at her side might bring even more trouble. Sure Hao left, this time free from worry, no longer feeling restraining fear. His divine senses became even sharper, spreading in all directions and searching about. Xian Kuan. Sure Hao sensed his aura, never expecting to find him so quickly, unexpectedly discovering his traces. Xian Kuan was injured, speeding along on his own as if he was running. Someone was chasing after him. Then, a great darkness surged, quickly approaching. A world-shaking collision erupted between the two, the mountain peaks in all directions collapsing. That was a confrontation of heavenly arts, a life and death struggle. Sure Hao didn't move, instead observing from the distance. He couldn't help but frown, deeply understanding how difficult it was to kill one with 3 strands of immortal energy. Xian Kuan was even seriously injured, yet he could still defend himself. In reality, in the confrontation just now, Xian Kuan's injuries became even worse. His body was clearly contorting, but he still didn't die. Sure Hao didn't take action, watching carefully from the distance. Is that really Feng Xingtian? Sure Hao took precautions. He had no choice but to view this person as a dangerous individual. His evaluation of the other party raised a level. It was because this person really was extremely powerful, strength terrifying. He didn't display his true body, instead shrouded in darkness, only shadows emerging, surrounding Xian Kuan, trading attacks, suppressing him. The battle continued. The battlefield changed. Sure Hao followed behind, ready to take action at any time. Soon afterwards, when he was 1,000 li from the battlefield, Sure Hao was shocked. It was because he heard a few voices that sounded familiar. 3,000 provinces cultivators. He was shocked. When he moved, temporarily leaving that battlefield, he saw some familiar people like Xinggu and Teng Yi. The former grasped the congealed blood spear that was impossible to defend against, the latter Fire Gold clan's inheritor who had exceptional strength. However, this extraordinariness was still only among exceptional talents. They didn't cultivate immortal energy, so they were chased to this place by some individuals. Wind Clan's people were forcing them to search about this region. These people are just too weak, not even cultivating immortal energy, yet they can still enter the academy? Really are living up to their reputation of being 3,000 provinces trash. Some laughed coldly. The 3,000 provinces are pretty much a joke already. If not because there are a few people whose origins are unordinary, suspected to be the disciples of sects established by the 9 heavens secluded experts, the others really are lacking. Apart from those few individuals, there's not a single individual worth looking at. Wu, you definitely can't speak like that. Who knows, they might leap out like fish and turn into dragons in the heavenly deity realm. Haha. Someone on the side laughed in an unbridled manner, the contempt undisguised. However, there really were experts among them because some of them were official disciples of the academy. It was because the Wind clan was powerful enough, one of the most frightening long-life clans, a power they could rely on. This time, they moved together with Feng Xingtian's followers, searching through this region. They heard that the 4 great young supreme beings were all seriously injured, and that there might be an immortal cave here. As such, they immediately rushed over to investigate. At the same time, out of fear that they might not have enough people, they forced the 3,000 provinces people to search this place too. I heard that it was Wind clan elders' personal order to suppress the 3,000 Dao provinces Huang for 10 years. There was this rumor it should be like this. It is rumored that the Wind clan's old ancestor didn't get along with one of the so-called desolate borders 7 kings. That unmatched expert belonged to the Stone clan. When Shihao heard this from the distance, he was greatly alarmed. There was still this type of thing? It actually involved the desolate border, related to one of the 7 great kings. The 3,000 Dao provinces really have declined, only producing trash. Where is the glory of the past? These people aren't worthy of coming here, can only be ordered around. One of them said, Shu, lower your voice. After all, the other party have had their noble times, being geniuses in that lower realm, haha. Someone ridiculed. Shihao silently appeared from the distance, walking towards this direction. Pooh! With a raise of his hand, brilliant light shone. A golden war blade condensed from lightning appeared, exceptionally sharp. With a ferocious sweep, blood splashed several dozen feet into the air. Ah! Someone cried out loudly. There were many people hacked at the waist, blood splashing out in all directions. Who are you? Someone indignantly rebuked. In addition, the distant Feng Xingtian also heard this, a terrifying aura engulfing in this direction. When this blade descended, not only were 3 of Feng Xingtian's followers killed, there were even 2 official disciples who cultivated immortal energy that fell. However, before Shihao's anger, they were just that helpless, unable to take a single blow. Under the others' cries of alarm and anger, Shihao walked over, the pressure he gave off flourishing even greater. The golden war blade enlarged, brandishing and sweeping out again. The blade was extremely long, as if a waterfall poured down, rushing outwards. It was just too brilliant. Pooh! Even more people were killed. This attack was accompanied by lightning radiance. The 2 that were a bit further out were blasted into coal. You dare! In the distance, Feng Xingtian's berating voice sounded. He raised his hand, releasing a streak of divine rainbow light towards this direction, firing it from his palm. Shihao moved, directly avoiding it. A bottomless hole immediately appeared in his original location. The reddish-brown earth was blasted through, darkness covering the underground world. Who was he? The cultivators of the 3,000 provinces were alarmed, not recognizing Shihao because right now he was different from before, using the 72 transformations, not only changing his appearance but even reconstructing his bones and flesh. This type of bone remolding and flesh condensing was painful, but it could hide his identity to a great degree, others unable to see through him. Not even the heavenly eyes could see through it because it was a true flesh reconstruction, and not just an illusion technique. Who are you? You dare take the Wind clan as your enemy? One of Feng Xingtian's followers put on a brave front despite feeling weak inside, loudly berating. It was because he really had no choice. This demon god-like existence was currently advancing towards them. Seems like he doesn't lack followers. Shihao said coldly, carrying a type of ridicule. It was because the remaining followers were actually disciples of the academy, 7 or 8 of them originally geniuses of an area, yet they were willing to help Feng Xingtian. When he learned that it was the Wind clan who wanted to suppress him, Shihao felt a wave of anger within him, one that raged greatly. If it wasn't for his fate being great, he might have died in Origin Ancient Mine. Strictly speaking, Yuan Qing was only an accomplice. The true instigator was the Wind clan. This was especially the case when there were still ulterior motives behind this, involving the grudge between Wind clan's old ancestor and Desolate Border's 7 Kings Stone clan ancestor, making his emotions surge with even greater intensity. Already things of the distant past, Yet you all can't forget it. Unable to defeat my bloodline's ancestor, yet coming to suppress me in spite of your own statuses. Xianxia said to himself, rage surging, fists clenched. Suppressing him for 10 years was the same as robbing him of all natural luck from the academy, cutting off his path. Everyone knew that Heavenly Deity Institution did everything it could, using dragon blood and even immortal Tao scriptures to cultivate 2 or 3 most powerful young supreme beings, doing everything they could to support them. They gathered the best things of the 9 heavens, these treasures impossible to collect by other sections. This could be said to be an unimaginable opportunity. It was precisely under this type of situation that the Wind Clan took action, suppressing Xianxia, not allowing him to participate, and even sending him into a dangerous land where he almost died. Chi! Xianxia raised his hand. 5 streaks of divine light immediately shot out from his fingers, blasting towards the individuals before him. Kacha! Sounds of precious artifacts shattering rang out. Those individuals cried out loudly. Bo! The sound of bone texts being erased rang out. It was extremely gentle and soft, but it was quite shocking. One had to bear in mind that this time, these individuals ignited their potential, using the most powerful divine abilities they had, yet everything was blown through with a single attack. Pooh! The sound of blood splashing out could be heard. They carried expressions of unwillingness as the space between their brows was blasted through. They then collapsed into a pool of blood. He was just that powerful, his advance unstoppable, obliterating several great experts with a raise of his hand, leaving the cultivators from the 3,000 provinces who were captured stupefied. How daring! Feng Xingtian was angry. He didn't wish to let Xianxia go, so he attacked with everything he had, wishing to kill his opponent, but he never expected his own men to be killed so quickly. And Xianxia revealed a strange expression, because some of them were official disciples. When they died, their life-saving bone symbols remained, currently absorbing essence blood, wishing to escape. Puh! Xianxia released a shout, forming a fist imprint, and then smashing out, blasting them all apart. These were originally the divine symbols bestowed by the Academy's elders, possessing life-saving miraculous effects. However, none of those people were able to escape. Chi! Immediately afterwards, dark light surged, vast and boundless, completely submerging Xianxia within. Feng Xingtian took action, wanting to suppress and kill him. This was dark attribute energy, originating from an ancient heavenly art. Xianxia didn't try to face it. A pair of lightning divine wings appeared on his back, and with a light shake, the skies were shattered, quickly avoiding this strike. He didn't wish to join the battle yet, hoping for the two to continue fighting. He didn't feel any obligation to help Xianxia out from his predicament, nor did he want to fight a life and death battle with Feng Xingtian right now. Everything could wait until those two's intense battle concluded. Xianxia chose to watch as a bystander, standing there just like that. Of course, Feng Xingtian wouldn't permit this type of situation. Even if he was still dealing with the powerful Xianxia, he still took action again, displaying a type of darkness precious technique that was incredibly powerful. Black mists overflowed into the sky, attacking Xianxia. Right at this time, the void trembled. A bright moon soared, scattering the darkness, blossoming at Feng Xingtian's side. He suffered an attack. Princess Yao Yu came to assist Xianxia, taking action decisively. She was also injured, but right now, she pursued justice without second thoughts, releasing a world-shocking attack. It was because if Xianxia fell, with herself already seriously injured, once she was found by Feng Xingtian here, she would likely be in danger as well. At the same time, she had always maintained a relationship of alliance with Xianxia, so helping the other party out would result in gratitude. Xianxia laughed. Things actually developed like this, becoming a muddled battle. Crucifix Divine Tao! Feng Xingtian shouted coldly. His arms moved, producing 2 streaks of light, one black, one white. They intersected, forming an enormous cross. Great Tao symbols surged, incredibly terrifying, slaughtering its way over towards Yao Yu. Dong! It was as if a divine drum was rumbling in the void, the sounds heavy, shaking up everyone's souls. Immortal energy immediately surged. This was a clash between the most powerful individuals. Unfortunately, Princess Yao Yu and Shen Kuan were both already seriously injured, not at their best. Otherwise, with the two joining hands, Feng Xingtian would definitely be nursing a grievance. Pooh! Yao Yu and Shen Kuan coughed out blood. However, Feng Xingtian wasn't all that well off. Complexion flushed red, blood appearing at the corners of his lips. Kill! Feng Xingtian released a grunt. He displayed a type of darkness ancient heavenly art. Demonic clouds surged. His entire body vanished, only darkness covering the great earth. Yao Yu and Shen Kuan shouted, both of them also doing everything they could to take action, using the heavenly arts they inherited. People like them naturally had the most powerful methods. Hong Long Long. The sun and moon became without light, heaven and earth losing color. A violent explosion erupted here, producing an irregular scene between heaven and earth, everything seemingly disappearing from existence, heading towards an end. The heavenly dome exploded. Chaotic energy ravaged this place. Even though this was a mortal battlefield, the great earth sturdy, right now it continuously collapsed, revealing a massive underground palace. Everyone here became stunned. They actually ended up blasting open an underground palace. The darkness scattered, primal chaos disappearing. The massive underground palace revealed an indistinct scene, hiding in an abyss. A faint fragrance wafted outwards. That was divine medicine. Shuhao's mind jumped. He immediately knew that the headless creature likely came from this place. The others also understood, quickly rushing down. Cries of alarm sounded. There was a stalk of divine medicine in the abyss after all. It rushed into the earth, moving quickly, fleeing into the underground palace. At this time, Shuhao couldn't stay uninvolved any longer. He quickly rushed over, about to enter the underground palace. It was clear that this was an ancient cave. Hong, Princess Yao Yu, Shen Kuan, and Feng Xingtian fought again. This time even more intense, all of them using the most powerful divine abilities. Bone text surging, the void being blasted open. Kill! When things slightly calmed down, they all coughed out blood. However, Feng Xingtian's state was clearly much better. He released a large shout, moreover producing terrifying magical imprints, wishing to activate the final unmatched heavenly art. Hong! Right at this moment, Shuhao took action. He also formed imprints, diving down from above. In that instant, he seemed to have turned into 6 individuals, producing 6 types of magical imprints. In reality, there was still only one true body, just that he was too fast, giving others a type of illusion. He was borrowing the magical imprints to display an ancient heavenly art, 6 Tao reincarnations. When this heavenly art appeared, the sky and earth lost color, the atmosphere immediately changing, making others feel suffocated. Shuhao formed imprints attacking Feng Xingtian. Everyone in the battlefield was shocked, as if they realized something. Princess Yao Yu's eyes surged with radiance, staring at Shuhao. However, she didn't hesitate, coordinating with him, also attacking towards Feng Xingtian. As for Shen Kuan, there was even less of a need to say anything. He hated Feng Xingtian bitterly, similarly taking action. Dong! This place exploded, primal chaos appearing, countless symbols surging. The most terrifying great collision erupted. Feng Xingtian's darkness heavenly art was no match. He was blasted out, blood coughed out from his mouth. Despite this, he still clenched his teeth, forcefully rushing towards the underground palace. Where do you think you're going? Shuhao shouted, forming the 6 Tao reincarnations imprint again, displaying the ancient heavenly art, suppressing towards him. Shuhao formed an imprint, 6 Tao reincarnations heavenly art reappearing, blasting outwards. Wang! This abyss moved back and forth, space around him rumbling. It was as if several true dragons released a great roar. The heavenly art displayed its might, boundless power smashing down, as if the stars of the heavens came crashing down. Streak after streak of light surged, carrying time fragments and smashing outwards. This was the power of the domain created by the heavenly art. Of course, this was just the most basic level. There were still 6 precious techniques overlaying, right now completely merged, impossible to distinguish which types there were as they flooded out. A tremendous rumbling sounded, shaking one up until they felt as if their souls were shattering. Princess Yao Yu and Xian Kuan widened their eyes with shock. That person was too unusual, the methods he displayed truly astonishing. 6 types of light interweaved, becoming the most fundamental bone texts, crashing out wave after wave, one stronger than the next, exceeding the most powerful precious techniques. 6 types of bone texts overlaid on top of each other, forming unmatched symbols, the destructive force astonishing. One could clearly see Feng Xingtian cough out blood again. Even though he displayed the darkness heavenly art again, he was still injured, body greatly shaken, black mists surging, blood flowing out from his mouth and nose. Then, his entire body flew out even faster, smashing towards the abyss like a meteor, rushing towards that palace. What a formidable youth! Princess Yao Yu's beautiful eyes blinked, astonishing colors flying out as she stared at Hao, watching him display the ancient heavenly technique. Her origins were unordinary, coming from a top-level long-life family in the 9 heavens 10 earths, so her knowledge was naturally extensive, immediately ascertaining that this was the 6 Tao reincarnations technique. Her beautiful eyes immediately began to burn. She had heard about this type of method for a long time already. "You won't be able to escape," Hao shouted. Like a pong, his body unfolded, arms moving, heavenly wind rushing about, stellar energy surging all around him as he rushed over. Where did this kind of crazy youngster come from? Even someone like you dares to boast shamelessly before me? If not for all 3 of you working together, I would kill you all one after the another. Feng Xingtian berated. Even though he was injured, he still didn't become dejected, believing that he didn't lose to one person, but the ancient heavenly arts 3 people displayed at the same time. Feng Xingtian was a confident person, as well as a powerful individual. He really did have the backing to overlook the crowd, a giant among men. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he released a great roar. This abyss began to surge, black haze surrounding it. "Whoever dares come, then whoever it is I will kill, send you on your way," he shouted. Darkness surrounded the world below, the palace no longer visible, covered by Feng Xingtian's dark power. The remains were now pitch black. Feng Xingtian had this type of arrogance. Whoever dared to compete against him for immortal karma, he would kill them without exception. When one dared to speak like this, they had to have powerful strength. He was extremely self-confident, and at the same time, this dark abyss perfectly matched the source of his strength. Already coughing out blood, even the defeated dares to utter such delirious words. "Even if I come, what can you do about it?" Hao didn't stop, immediately rushing over murderously. Pong! A large hand slapped over in the darkness, carrying a wave of cold energy and thick black haze, absorbing the darkness power here. Feng Xingtian took action, hoping to kill Hao. Hao didn't even think before acting, using the most domineering yang bone texts. Lightning interweaved, forming a great river, blasting this place apart. The instant the darkness was hacked through, Hao saw that large hand. He pressed forward without any hesitation, sending his fist smashing over, colliding with that large black hand. An enormous sound rang through the air. It was like muffled lightning, blasting apart the surrounding layer of this abyss. An even more vast underground space was immediately blasted apart. Only the underground palace remained intact, not receiving damage. The 2 individuals' attacks shook heaven and earth. This was a mortal battlefield, yet the earth was destroyed to this degree, as if a demon ancestor struggled free from his restrictions, destroying the netherworld and then breaking apart the earth's surface. Feng Xingtian withdrew. The first attack resulted in failure, making his expression change. His palm felt a bit numb, unexpectedly forcefully stopped by that individual. He had quite the confidence in his own flesh. He had soaked in all types of spiritual liquids since his youth, refining an unbreaking body, previously even using all types of wondrous medicines and secret recipes to refine his body. When he reached adulthood, the power of his flesh was already great to an inconceivable level. When facing attacks from those of the same cultivation realm, he didn't suffer any damage, difficult to be harmed in the slightest. If he only attacked with his physical body without using any precious techniques, just martial arts alone would be enough to kill those powerful exceptional talents. He was the Wind Clan's disciple, someone who made the heavens proud, his cultivation among his peers glorious and world-shattering, rarely encountering his match, his physical prowess even more so undefeated. However, after trading blows just now, he couldn't do anything to the other party, both of them sharing the limelight. Feng Xingtian really found it a bit hard to believe that this person could match him in physical strength. He originally thought that only Lu Tuo and a few others could do this. Where did this fella crawl out from? This was his greatest question. Completely unknown person. How could he be this strong? It really was a bit ridiculous. Feng Xingtian silently moved again, taking action in the darkness, using Dark Demon Fist, an ancient and frightening great method from the darkness heavenly art. This attack was without wind and waves, smashing over without the slightest bit of sound. One fist aimed at the middle of Shao's back, one at the back of his head. This type of attack, if it landed, would directly blow one apart, body and spirit obliterated, nothing left behind. However, in the dark, Shao suddenly turned around, similarly forming fist imprints, facing the other party with both his fists. Dang! Sparks flew in all directions, metallic sounds ringing through this place. This didn't seem like fists smashing together at all, but rather like a collision of divine gold, metal sounds ear-splitting. It made one's soul couldn't help but shake as well. Dark Demon Fist clashed with Shao's ancient heavenly art, but it didn't achieve much result, unable to injure his body. It wasn't that Dark Demon Fist wasn't strong, but rather it proved that it was ridiculously powerful, actually able to stop Shao's unmatched heavenly art. This Demon Fist was extremely special. It silently merged with the void, blasting through the heavens, only releasing sound after it made contact with Shao's fist. The darkness was extremely thick, not a bit of light to be seen. The surrounding space had long been blown into tatters. The abyss was blown apart. Apart from the palace, everything else was completely leveled. Dark Demon Fist obliterated everything, completely silent as it annihilated all. This strong. Feng Xingtian felt great pain from his fists. A great power spread, causing his arm to jerk about slightly, trembling a bit. For Feng Xingtian, in a clash of physical strength, if he couldn't dominate the other party, then that was already a type of defeat for him. Especially this year after he bathed in phoenix blood, baptizing his flesh, undergoing an astonishing transformation, his body becoming even stronger. Yet who was this youth who suddenly came out of nowhere? Why could this person fight against him, being equally matched in physical strength? He was confident that Heavenly Deity Institution's true phoenix pool wasn't open to this stranger. So what was there that was comparable to phoenix blood in refining one's body? Even though the phoenix blood wasn't pure, after it merged with the divine spring, it was still something extremely rarely seen under the sky. Hong! Shao took action. He surged with battle intent as he charged murderously at Feng Xingtian in the darkness. Brilliant light surged between the two again. An eruption of bone texts, release of divine force, even more so an all-out struggle between their powerful physical bodies. In that instant, natural laws interweaved, divine chains of order moving through the air. A brilliant streak of light illuminated the darkness, crisscrossing into a web here. This was produced from Tao laws, condensed from natural order. An enormous sound rang out, as if an immortal drum was being struck. The world exploded, this place becoming completely chaotic, everything blurry. It was clear that the two carried out another great collision. It was extremely fierce, exceeding their imagination. Bright red blood scattered about in the air. Chi! Right at this moment, Princess Yao Yu also appeared, charging murderously. A divine rainbow shot out with a raise of her hand, attacking Feng Xingtian. Then, Shen Kuan also appeared, standing near the underground palace, powerfully taking action against Feng Xingtian. Even though he was injured, his current power was still astonishing. Pu! Feng Xingtian released a wah sound, coughing out large amounts of blood. He felt quite sullen. He originally came to kill Lu Tua, Yao Yu and the others, yet now he was injured himself. He turned around, rushing towards the underground palace. Now, there were many people on the surface because this situation created too much of a disturbance, the blast waves shocking people from all directions. The ones who rushed here first all revealed an expression of shock, because they saw some of the battlefield situation just now. Who is that person daring to fight against Feng Xingtian? Why have we never seen him before? I seem to have seen that person made Feng Xingtian cough out blood.